Lu Changsheng stepped out of the myriad treasures pavilion and looked at the busy streets outside, letting out a quiet breath. Half a day of work was finally over. All 5 of the Ko clan's evil treasures had been sold for a total of 4,110 spirit stones, right in line with his estimates. If he had also sold the pills, talismans, and spare materials, he could have easily made over 7,000. But those were things he could use himself, so he kept them. Every single spirit stone he earned was spent almost immediately. All of it went into purchasing materials for a second-grade puppet. After asking around, Lu Changsheng had learned that even the cheapest second-grade puppet cost around 3,000 spirit stones, and the price could rise far higher depending on design. Puppets came in countless forms: combat types, support types, special types, humanoid or beast-shaped, small, large, or even giant. A single giant puppet could burn through 10 times the resources of a small one. Given his limited money, time, and environment, Lu Changsheng did not even consider large or giant puppets. His goal was simple: 1 second-grade small humanoid puppet. Its strength would be roughly equal to an early Foundation establishment cultivator, more than enough for self-defense. Even so, after buying talisman tools and other materials, he was still about 500 spirit stones short. That could wait. First, he would draw the second-grade talismans he had already purchased. That would cover the remaining cost. After circling the market and making sure no one was tracking him, Lu Changsheng returned to the spirit talisman shop. Only when he sat down on the 3rd floor did he finally relax. Today had been tense. He poured himself a cup of jade bamboo wine and let his mind settle before working again. Soon after, he took out his new Red Radiance talisman pen and began drawing high-grade talismans. The difference was obvious. The spiritual energy flowed more smoothly, and even small disturbances were gently stabilized by the pen. 2 talismans later, Lu Changsheng was fully convinced of its quality. By nightfall, he returned home, checked on his family, and went to rest. The next morning, he entered the talisman room with a calm mind. Purple beastskin talisman paper was laid out. The pen tip glowed as it absorbed spiritual ink mixed with demon beast blood. Slowly, he began to draw. Every stroke was steady, but heavy. Sweat formed on his brow as he guided the energy through the talisman lines. At last, the final stroke was complete. Purple lightning flashed across the paper as flames licked its edges. Then everything settled. The Thunderfire talisman was complete. Lu Changsheng exhaled in relief and smiled. A second-grade talisman was equal to a Foundation establishment strike. With careful control, it could threaten even true cultivators at that level. After resting, he went to White Jade Tower and collected the 2 maidservants he had purchased earlier, Jiang Luwei and Yu Yao. Jiang Luwei's martial background immediately caught his interest. She would be perfect to teach his children. Several days later, back at the shop, Lu Changsheng finally finished the 1st-grade medium puppet he had been working on. When activated, the metal figure moved with surprising agility. Even a strike from his Qing'an sword left only a shallow mark. It can withstand mid-grade attacks, he murmured, satisfied. The puppet could even cast basic fire and frost techniques, though only a few times before running out of stored energy. The only real limitation was him. With his current cultivation, he could control only 2 or 3 puppets at once. So that's why puppet masters are rare, he muttered. Still, as he looked at the puppet, his eyes gleamed with ambition. Once he reached Foundation establishment and awakened divine sense, controlling many puppets would be another story entirely. And that future, he knew, was getting closer. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, more than 2 months were gone. With second-tier talismans to draw every day and puppet parts to refine whenever he had a spare moment, Lu Changsheng's schedule became even tighter than before. Still, no matter how busy he was, he never forgot what mattered most. In these 2 months, he helped Jiang Luwei and Yu Yao successfully conceive. Servant girls with spirit roots were always treated with extra care in his eyes. At the same time, Xiaoqing and the maid Sung Lan, after receiving his attention again, were both pregnant with their 2nd child. That day, on the 3rd floor of the spirit talisman shop, Lu Changsheng finished his daily talisman quota and went straight into the storage room to refine puppet components with spiritual power. The corner of the room was filled with parts, joints, ribs, plates, cores, and blades, each one neatly placed. The materials for the second-tier puppet were not yet complete, but that did not stop him from preparing what he could. A puppet was not something completed in a month or two. It was a long project, likely 3 or 4 months at minimum, possibly longer. Just as he was adjusting a piece in his hand, his body suddenly trembled. It was faint, but unmistakable. Deep, mysterious, and profound. Spirit root tremor? Lu Changsheng froze for a breath, then his eyes lit up. The child. Yuer's child has been born. And it has a spirit root. 7th grade. He had felt this sensation too many times to misread it. The strength of the feedback told him the quality immediately. Joy surged in his chest like a rising tide. But even then, he did not rush back home at once. If he ran home every single time a spirit root child was born, people would eventually notice something strange. Once or twice might be normal. Too often would become suspicious. Lu Changsheng took a slow breath and forced himself to calm down. He set the part aside and sat down to meditate. Half an hour later, he opened his eyes and immediately felt the change. His cultivation speed had increased again, roughly by 10%. If I can get 2 or 3 more 7th-grade spirit root children. His gaze sharpened with anticipation. My own spirit root might step into 6th grade. Just thinking about it made his heart burn with hope. He returned to work, but his thoughts kept drifting. By the time dusk arrived, he finally stood up. This time, he could not hold back. When he reached home, one of the women greeted him with a smile. Master, Yuer gave birth. It's a daughter. Lu Changsheng's face brightened instantly. He hurried to the backyard, and when he saw the tiny girl in swaddling cloth, his joy grew even stronger. A 7th-grade spirit root. A true blessing. Xiao Yueru's cheeks were glowing with happiness, and the other women could not hide the envy in their eyes. They all knew one thing clearly. Their husband loved children more than anything. Elsewhere, deep within a secluded cave dwelling, a slender young man held a black jar with trembling excitement. Inside was a blood-red goo insect, weak and fading, as if it might die at any moment. This is the love-locking goo. His voice shook with joy. Grandmother said our ancestor was once a fallen cultivator. But he obtained this goo by chance, and with it, immortal women fell for him one after another. He rose all the way, even becoming a true immortal. He formed hand seals and pricked his fingertip. A drop of essence blood fell. The dying goo immediately stirred, greedily licking the blood. Its body brightened, turning crystal clear like blood jade. Good, good. The young man cut his palm. The goo crawled into the wound and vanished into his flesh. This goo can lock onto 3 targets at most, and their cultivation cannot exceed mine by too much. His joy quickly turned sharp and cautious. Our ancestor was too greedy. The goo failed, and his wives turned on him. He died for it. He stared at his palm, then whispered, I won't repeat that mistake. In his mind, a tall, handsome figure appeared. Lu Changsheng. Back in Jiolong Market, 2 more months slipped by without incident. Xiao Yuyo had conceived her 2nd child as well, and Lu Changsheng's total number of children had reached 58. On the 3rd floor of the Spirit Talisman shop, Lu Changsheng stood before a nearly 2-meter-tall humanoid puppet. Its body was pitch-black metal, polished to a cold sheen. A long blade in one hand, a shield in the other, and 5 black spears mounted on its back like fangs. If I collect more magic tools later, Lu Changsheng murmured, I can install them directly onto it. Even if it can't fully unleash their power, it will still be deadly. He removed the protective mirror on its chest, revealing the hollow space where the spiritual core rested. This final step was the most important. He took up the spirit pattern engraving knife and began to carve the final connecting runes, linking every array on the puppet into one complete system. His focus was absolute. One mistake here meant dismantling everything, rechecking every part, re-engraving, then reassembling. Time passed slowly. At last, the final stroke was complete. Lu Changsheng poured and prepared spirit liquid, embedded 10 spirit stones, and watched as a faint glow spread across the puppet's body. The carved pattern seemed to awaken, humming with a deep ancient aura. It's done. He smiled tiredly. For months of work, finally finished. He activated the puppet control technique. The puppet's surface shimmered with a dark jade glow. A low hum came from inside, as if a war machine had awakened. With a whoosh, it swung its blade, the air trembling. Lu Changsheng clicked his tongue. This place is too small. If I test it properly, I might demolish the room. The puppet strikes were comparable to a peak chi refining cultivator. If a chi refining cultivator couldn't escape fast enough, they would die. But against a true foundation establishment cultivator? Unless the opponent was old, injured, and exhausted, a puppet alone would not be enough. Still, it was a powerful safeguard. The only problem is spirit stones, he muttered. To sustain full power, it needs medium grade, maybe even high grade. 10 low-grade stones were only a temporary solution. When I have spare funds, I'll switch to medium grade. 9 days later, the second elder prepared to return to Qingju Mountain. The flying boat could seat 3, so Lu Changsheng brought 2 wives with him, along with Jiang Luwei, so she could begin teaching the children martial arts back home. When the second elder saw Lu Changsheng arrive with 2 pregnant wives and a maid who was also pregnant, he was speechless for a long moment. In the end, he could only sigh and remind him to take care of his health. After returning and staying 3 days, Lu Changsheng displayed his progress to the 4th elder and began learning high-grade talisman methods, laying the groundwork for his next breakthrough in front of the family. He also visited Li Feiyu and asked him to teach the children martial arts. After much pushing, Li Feiyu finally agreed to accept 5 spirit stones per month. When Lu Changsheng left again, he considered taking the 9 netherworld hound with him. But the children loved it too much. If he took it away, they would cry for days. So he left it behind, thinking it could at least help watch the kids. A month later, Lu Changsheng was meditating in the spirit talisman shop. With the immortal posture technique running smoothly and the peach blossom goo enhancing his presence, his looks and aura became even more refined. Even sitting quietly, he seemed calm, clean, and hard to ignore. He opened his eyes and sighed. At this rate, I'll need 6 or 7 years just to reach the peak of the 7th chi refining stage. Too slow. The biggest problem wasn't effort. It was his cultivation technique. Returning to the origin was stable, but painfully neutral, with no sharp edge. Just as he was thinking, his body trembled again. That familiar spirit root feedback. At the same moment, a system prompt sounded. Congratulations, host. You have produced 7 children with spirit roots. You have earned 1 draw dot. Lu Changsheng's eyes flashed. Is it Miaoyun's or Zhenjin's? If it was Lu Miaoyun again and he still wasn't there, he truly would feel guilty. He forced himself to calm down. The feedback was small. Most likely 9th grade. Still, a spirit root was a spirit root. System, Lu Changsheng said quietly, draw. A pale red panel appeared. He stared at it, silently wishing. A cultivation manual. Anything better than returning to the origin. The wheel spun in golden light, slowed, and finally stopped on. Pills.
Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support, we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
A pill pattern emerged from the large roulette wheel, accompanied by a system prompt sound. Longevity pill? Lu Changsheng looked at this reward and frowned. He naturally knew about longevity pills. They were a type of extremely rare pill in the cultivation world. As their name suggested, they could prolong one's lifespan after consumption. A first-rank longevity pill could prolong one's lifespan by 5 to 10 years. A second-rank longevity pill could prolong one's lifespan by 10 to 20 years. A third-rank longevity pill could prolong one's lifespan by 30 to 50 years. The reason for the varying effects was due to the quality of the pill. Another factor was the physical condition of the consumer. For example, an elderly person who had exhausted their potential would experience reduced effects even if they consumed a longevity pill. After all, longevity pills only prolonged life. They didn't save lives or revive the dead. I'm still young, and my life is long, so getting a longevity pill like this is somewhat useless. But it's not a big deal. Who wouldn't want a longer lifespan? With a longer lifespan, I can remind myself to be more cautious and stable and not rush into things. I may not have much else, but at least I have time. Although longevity pills were rare and precious, Lu Changsheng didn't have a strong reaction to this reward. Compared to other things he had obtained, a longevity pill was somewhat lacking. Next, Lu Changsheng looked at the third-rank longevity pill in the system space. Pill, longevity pill. Quality, third rank. Description: consuming this pill can prolong one's lifespan by 30 to 50 years. Only the first pill of the same rank is effective. It's indeed as I knew. Even if it's a system product, there's no huge difference. I wonder, if I were to sell this longevity pill, I could at least get tens of thousands of spirit stones, right? Lu Changsheng looked at the longevity pill and thought to himself. However, he only thought about it. A longevity pill like this was extremely rare and priceless. It was something that only appeared in auctions. And even then, it was usually a first-rank or second-rank longevity pill that appeared. A third-rank longevity pill, at least Lu Changsheng had never heard of it being sold anywhere. So he thought about selling it, but it was hard to sell, and he didn't dare to try, fearing trouble. Extract. Lu Changsheng extracted the longevity pill from the system space. Immediately. A brown-green pill, crystal clear and full of vitality, emitting a rich life force, appeared before Lu Changsheng. On the surface of the pill, there were several faint silver patterns. This is the longevity pill, I suppose. Lu Changsheng held the pill in his hand and examined it. It was his first time seeing a longevity pill. He didn't notice anything special about it. However, the patterns on the surface told him that this was a top-grade longevity pill. Because only high-quality pills would have patterns appear on them. The more patterns, the better the quality of the pill and the fewer impurities it had. This longevity pill had 3 patterns, indicating that it was a top-grade pill among its kind. It could only be said that system products were guaranteed to be of high quality, making one feel at ease when consuming them. Without further ado, Lu Changsheng swallowed the longevity pill. The pill's taste was unremarkable, but as soon as it entered his stomach, it transformed into a pure and refined life force that spread throughout his body. It made him feel like his body was full of vitality and energy, as if he had unlimited power. At the same time, it made his entire body feel relaxed and comfortable, and he couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. The medicinal power of the pill continued to spread throughout his body, cleansing his blood, flesh, meridians, bones, and dantian, making his body radiate a spiritual glow. It was as if he had regained his vitality. After a long while, the effects of the longevity pill dissipated. Lu Changsheng opened his eyes, taking a long, relaxed breath. He only felt that his body was full of energy, and his spirit was refreshed and clear, as if he had been reborn. Does the longevity pill not only prolong one's lifespan but also have rejuvenating and body-nourishing effects? Lu Changsheng was somewhat surprised by the effects of the longevity pill. He had cultivated the 100-treasure refinement body tempering technique, so his physical body was naturally strong. But the longevity pill had indeed made his body feel light and refreshed, as if he had been reborn. Could it be that I've been cultivating for too long and have accumulated too much damage, affecting my lifespan? Or is it that as one's lifespan increases, the life force within the body becomes more abundant and the energy more plentiful? Lu Changsheng thought to himself, unsure of what was going on. After all, the physical body was separate from the lifespan. He didn't dwell on it too much, knowing that it was a good thing for him. He closed his eyes, feeling the changes in his lifespan. My lifespan should have increased by 50 years, right? Lu Changsheng muttered to himself. He also couldn't determine exactly how many years his lifespan had increased by. But somehow, he felt that his lifespan had increased by 50 years. This feeling was very mysterious, and even he couldn't explain it. A chi-refining cultivator, as long as they don't engage in fierce battles and take care of their body, can basically live past 100 years. If they break through to the late stage of chi refining, they can basically live up to 2 cycles of 60 years, which is 120 years. Someone like me, who doesn't fight with others and is good at taking care of myself, can easily live up to 120 years. Now, with this longevity pill, I've gained an additional 50 years of lifespan, which means I can live up to 170 years, approaching the lifespan of a foundation establishment cultivator. If I can get my hands on a first-rank and second-rank longevity pill in the future, wouldn't I be able to live up to 200 years, rivaling a foundation establishment great cultivator? No, by that time, I would have already reached foundation establishment, and with a lifespan of over 200 years, I could live up to 300 years with the help of longevity pills. With 300 years, I could at least have 1,000 children. By then, as long as my children work hard and strive, wouldn't I be able to just sit back and enjoy my old age? Reaching the nascent soul stage wouldn't be a problem, would it? Nascent soul true lord, in the Jiang country cultivation world, a nascent soul true lord is a supreme existence. Even looking at the entire southern wilderness cultivation world, a nascent soul true lord is a rare and extraordinary existence. This life is indeed full of surprises. But how am I supposed to spend my life with such a long lifespan? Can't just stay at home and have children every day, right? Lu Changsheng suddenly fell into a happy worry. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed. During this time, Guan Xian and servant girl Yu Lian became pregnant, and Yun Xianxian's child was born. However, this child didn't have a spirit root. Lu Changsheng didn't feel disappointed about this. Now that he had many wives and concubines, and many of them had spirit roots, they had all given birth to a round of children. So, he gradually became less concerned about having children with spirit roots. He could view it with a calm heart. After the child was born, Lu Changsheng took Yun Xianxian and the child to visit Yu Maoqing and his wife to share the good news. After all, the two were not only Yun Xianxian seniors, but also their matchmakers. Now that the child was born, they naturally had to go pay their respects. The two were overjoyed to hear the news and even set up a small banquet in the Jade Pavilion. During this time, Yu Ningrong whispered a piece of gossip to Lu Changsheng. She said that the Lu family's old ancestor would not live for more than 10 years. This news made Lu Changsheng's heart skip a beat. He had previously heard rumors in the Lu family that the old ancestor's health was not good. Now that Yu Ningrong said this, it seemed very likely to be true. This meant that the Lu family's situation was not optimistic. If the Lu family doesn't produce a new foundation establishment great cultivator before the old ancestor passes away, it will be difficult to defend the Qingzhou mountain spirit vein. Lu Changsheng thought to himself. In the cultivation world, a spirit vein was extremely important. Many cultivators wanted to have their own spirit vein, which would also mean establishing a foothold in the cultivation world. If the Lu family's old ancestor were to pass away, the family would lose its deterrent power, and Qingzhou Mountain would become a juicy target for anyone to take a bite. Not to mention the distant relatives, but even the Lu family's arch-nemesis, the Qin family of Hongya Valley, wouldn't let this opportunity slip away. Lu Changsheng didn't think too much about it. This was not something he could worry about. If the Lu family's old ancestor were to really pass away and the family faced a crisis, he would naturally lend a hand if he could. If he couldn't help, he would naturally take his wives and children and flee. After all, he was only a son-in-law of the Lu family, not a member of the Lu family itself. The Lu family had been good to him, and he remembered it in his heart. But he wouldn't sacrifice his life for the Lu family. Nor did he have the ability to do so. Half a month later, Lu Changsheng received a letter from Qingzhou Mountain. This surprised him. After all, he had just returned from a trip a month ago. And now he received a letter from Qingzhou Mountain, which was unusual. Moreover, the letter was sent via express flying bird messenger. Lu Changsheng opened the letter. It was from Lu Miaoyun. In the letter, Lu Miaoyun stated that something had happened at home and needed him to return to handle it. The cause of the incident was that Lu Ping'an and a few other children had taken the 9 Netherworld Hound out to play. A Lu family member named Lu Miaoyang saw the 9 Netherworld Hound and became greedy. Seeing that Lu Ping'an and the others were young, he thought he could trick the 9 Netherworld Hound into following him. Lu Ping'an and the others were young, but not foolish, and directly saw through the plan. This made the other party angry and wanted to take action against Lu Ping'an. In this situation, the 9 Netherworld Hound would never stand idly by and watch its young master get beaten, and it directly attacked, severely injuring the Lu family member. Instantly, the situation escalated. In a cultivation family like the Lu family, the first rule was to strictly prohibit internal conflicts. Family members, no matter what, were not allowed to engage in private fights or harm others. If there were any unresolved grudges or conflicts, they could directly report to the family. Let the patriarch or elder handle the situation. Although this incident was caused by the other party's mistake. However, now that he has been severely injured by the 9 Netherworld Hound, according to the Lu family's rules, Lu Changsheng also bears some responsibility. Especially since this Lu family junior, Lu Miaoyun, has a rather special situation. He is a direct descendant of the Lu family. Both his parents are core members of the Lu family. But 10 years ago, Lu Miaoyun's parents died in the Great War between the Lu family and the Qin family. Now he is the only one left in the family. The Lu family has always felt indebted to him and has been making amends. Now that this incident has occurred, he directly ran to the patriarch to cry and make a scene, causing a big commotion. The patriarch was also helpless in the face of this situation and has instructed Lu Miaoyun to send a message to Lu Changsheng, asking him how he plans to handle the situation. Hoping that he can settle the matter privately is the best outcome. Although Lu Miaoyun's motives are not pure, the 9 Netherworld Hound has indeed bitten someone severely, violating the Lu family's rules. If they follow the rules to handle the situation, Lu Changsheng's side will also be punished, and they hope Lu Changsheng can understand. Although I expected this day to come, I didn't think it would come so soon. Lu Changsheng shook his head slightly. He had long known that when he had many wives and children, they would inevitably bring him trouble as the head of the family. He needed to resolve the aftermath. He was also aware that the 9 Netherworld Hound would become more extraordinary as it grew, and it might be targeted. However, this matter can't be blamed on Ping'an and the others. It's Lu Miaoyun who is stirring up trouble. I also instructed the 9 Netherworld Hound to never attack people. Now that Lu Miaoyun has been bitten by the 9 Netherworld Hound, it's clear that he brought it upon himself. Lu Changsheng let out a light sigh. In the Lu family, he had heard of Lu Miaoyun's reputation over the years. He was notorious for being a troublemaker. Relying on his parents' favor, he had caused a lot of trouble within the Lu family. Who would have thought that his own family would now be involved with such a person? Considering the Lu family's face, if it's just a matter of compensation, let's settle it privately. Lu Changsheng finished reading the letter and let out a light sigh. He had made up his mind. If the other party was willing to settle the matter simply, he would also be willing to spend money to resolve the issue in the name of the Lu family. If they made unreasonable demands, he wouldn't be able to comply. After all, the Lu family owed Lu Miaoyun a debt, but he didn't owe him anything. Moreover, in Lu Changsheng's view, the 9 Netherworld Hound may have bitten the other party severely, but this matter is entirely not the 9 Netherworld Hound's fault, and we're not in the wrong either. Fortunately, this was within the Lu family. If this were outside, this kind of thing would be settled with the other party's death, and it wouldn't be considered excessive. After all, the cultivation world is a jungle where the strong prey on the weak. What reason is there to talk about when the other party covets my pet and deceives my child? I've always been honest and cautious, following the rules and fearing trouble. Now that I have a certain amount of power and confidence, I won't continue to retreat and compromise. With the increase in his power, he's gained more confidence, and Lu Changsheng's mindset has also undergone some changes. He's no longer willing to compromise like he did initially, and was unwilling to be humiliated. This matter was already a compromise, considering the Lu family's face. Immediately, Lu Changsheng put away the letter, came to the courtyard, and said to his wives, "There's something going on at home, and I need to go back." He didn't want to delay. He was preparing to set off immediately to Qingzhou Mountain to handle the matter. "Husband, you're in a hurry to go back. Is something happening at home?" Lu Changsheng knew that Lu Changsheng only returned home once every 6 months. This sudden return must mean that something had happened. "It's just a small matter at home, and I need to go back to handle it." Lu Changsheng smiled and said. He also instructed Xiaoqing, "Go to the talisman shop tomorrow and tell Zheng Shan that I've gone back due to some business, and he's in charge of the shop." "Yes, master." Xiaoqing nodded obediently. She often went to the talisman shop, so she was familiar with the shopkeeper, Zheng Shan. After simply handing over the task, Lu Changsheng left Jiolong Market. He took out the steel-feathered eagle from his spirit pet bag and flew towards Qingzhou Mountain. 2 days later, outside Qingzhou Mountain, Lu Changsheng got off the steel-feathered eagle and immediately hastened towards his home. Brother Changsheng, brother-in-law. There were many Lu family juniors who saw Lu Changsheng on the road and greeted him. Facing these greetings, even if he didn't know them, Lu Changsheng wore a smile and responded with familiarity. Lu Changsheng must have returned because of Lu Miaoyang's matter. It's definitely so. A few days ago, Miaoyang was bitten by Changsheng's pet, and it caused a big commotion. This matter naturally requires Changsheng to return and handle it. I wonder how this matter will end up. I hope Lu Changsheng can teach Lu Miaoyang a lesson. I do too. Previously, my father bought a shop from him, and it's been 3 years now. He actually came back to cause trouble and started making a fuss. In the end, my father even gave him spirit stones as compensation. Alas, what can you do? It's because Miaoyang's parents both died in battle for the family, and the family owes him a debt. Lu Changsheng is a talisman master and also the grandson-in-law of the 4th elder. If he really clashes with Lu Miaoyang, he won't be afraid. It's hard to say. If Lu Miaoyang throws a tantrum, what can Lu Changsheng do? Lu Changsheng's temper is too good. He always appears gentle and courteous and won't offend anyone. I estimate that in the end, he'll just smooth things over. You might be right. A group of Lu family juniors couldn't help but discuss and speculate after seeing Lu Changsheng leave. They were curious about how Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoyang's matter would be resolved in the end. As for the discussions of the crowd, Lu Changsheng was not aware and didn't care, and he hastened back to his home. Husband. Lu Miaoyan learned that Lu Changsheng had returned and immediately hurried over. Her face revealed a few hints of guilt and self-blame. In her view, since a disturbance had occurred in the family, as the main wife of the family, she also had a responsibility. After all, she was usually in charge of the family's internal affairs. Yuner, what's wrong? You look like you're blaming yourself. Lu Changsheng immediately gently grasped Lu Miaoyun's hand and smiled as he spoke. I was in charge of the family, yet such a thing happened. I even troubled you to return. Lu Miaoyun said with great self-blame. What are you blaming yourself for? The matter isn't your fault. These kinds of things are for me to handle. You've been working hard these days. Lu Changsheng held Lu Miaoyun's delicate face and spoke in a gentle voice. How could he possibly blame Lu Miaoyun for this matter? Saying that she didn't take good care of the family's children and such. In his opinion, this matter was originally caused by Lu Miaoyang's provocation. It had nothing to do with his family. Besides, Lu Ping'an was already so old. In normal times, he didn't need adults to keep an eye on him. If they really needed to keep an eye on him, with so many children in the family, it would be impossible to manage. This time when I came back from this trip, I also wanted to see you and the children. Yuner, you gave birth to a child this time and your husband was not by your side. I should be the one blaming myself. Lu Changsheng didn't immediately ask about Lu Miaoyang's affairs, but instead showed concern for his wife. After all, his wife had just given birth to a child, and he wasn't present at the time. Now that he was back, he had to show some concern and ask about it. Husband, you're always busy. Lu Miaoyun's face suddenly showed emotion and her eyes were filled with tender love. Let's talk about it later. First, let's go see the children. Yuner, is it a boy or a girl this time? Lu Changsheng got up and asked. It's a girl, husband. Lu Miaoyun's face also showed a happy smile when she heard Lu Changsheng's words. A girl is good, she'll definitely be as lovely as you when she grows up. Lu Changsheng smiled and said. He didn't really care about the child's gender. Later, he went with Lu Miaoyun to visit the newborn child. When they arrived at the backyard, Lu Changsheng saw Lu Miaoyun and Chu Xinjin's children. However, looking at the two newborns, he couldn't tell which child had a spirit root. After all, knowing whether a child had a spirit root relied on the system's added perception. And the two children were born on almost the same day. However, after asking about the specific birth times of the two children, Lu Changsheng knew. The child with a spirit root was Chu Xinjin's. Lu Miaoyun's child didn't have a spirit root. Lu Changsheng didn't mind this. After all, no matter which wife or concubine's child it was, he would treat them equally. Yuner, what did Patriarch say about how to handle Lu Miaoyang's matter? After seeing the children and chatting for a while, Lu Changsheng asked Lu Miaoyun about the matter. Preparing to resolve the purpose of his return. Patriarch hopes we can settle it privately. Otherwise, according to the clan rules, this matter will affect you, husband. But Miaoyang is stubborn and refuses to negotiate, insisting on 500 spirit stones as compensation and also wants to take Little Black away. Lu Miaoyun pursed her lips and her face showed some discontent. 500 spirit stones, and he even wants to take Little Black away? He really dares to open his mouth. Lu Changsheng heard this and couldn't help but laugh. Not to mention that it was just a bite wound. The life of a chi refining period cultivator wasn't even worth 500 spirit stones. If they were outside, they could find a fugitive and buy their life for less than 100 spirit stones. And the other party still wanted the 9 Netherworld Hound, which was simply absurd. If the other party had this attitude, Lu Changsheng wouldn't even bother to talk. Grandmother also thinks that Miaoyang is being too excessive. So she told me to tell you, husband, that if Miaoyang is willing to make amends, that would be best. If not, then you don't need to bother with him and let Patriarch handle it according to the clan rules. Lu Miaoyun spoke. Although Lu Miaoyang was her cousin, they were from different branches and didn't have much of a close relationship. Moreover, Lu Miaoyang's behavior wasn't well received, and Lu Miaoyun didn't have much affection for him. Lu Changsheng heard this and felt a warmth in his heart. He also knew that these days, Lu Miaoyun and the fourth elder hadn't been idle. They were also worrying about this matter. If it's handled according to the clan rules, what would usually happen? He asked aloud. Such cases rarely occur within the family. Even if there are disputes, they're usually just verbal and rarely escalate to physical violence. So this situation is considered quite severe. Not only would there be a fine of spirit stones, but also punishment by hard labor. However, grandmother said that as a talisman master, the family wouldn't let you do hard labor. Even if it's handled according to the clan rules, it would just be a heavier fine and a small punishment. Lu Miaoyun thought for a moment before saying this. She had also tried to settle the matter. She had also gone to find Lu Miaoyang, offering to compensate with spirit stones, hoping the other party would be willing to make amends. But the other party was stubborn and refused to budge, wanting to take the 9 Netherworld Hound as compensation. Lu Miaoyun naturally couldn't agree to such an unreasonable demand. Not to mention that this was Lu Changsheng's pet. Just looking at the 9 Netherworld Hound's extraordinary abilities, it was impossible to do such a thing. All right, I understand. I'll go talk to Lu Miaoyang again, see if he's willing to make amends. Lu Changsheng heard this and roughly understood the situation. Anyway, being able to make amends was the best outcome. If not, then it would be handled according to the clan rules. Even if it was handled according to the clan rules, his side would still be at a disadvantage. Since Lu Yuanding and the fourth elder both hoped he would try to make amends first, no matter what, he had to go through the motions. I'll go with you, husband, Lu Miaoyun said immediately. No need, I can handle this myself, Lu Changsheng waved his hand and said. Tell me where Lu Miaoyang's residence is, he asked. Lu Miaoyun didn't insist and told Lu Changsheng the direction of Lu Miaoyang's residence. Just as Lu Changsheng was about to leave, Lu Lanshu came over with Lu Ping'an, Lu Wuyu, and a few other little ones to see Lu Changsheng. This matter involved the little ones, and it was because of them that Lu Changsheng, the head of the family, had to come back. As their mother, Lu Lanshu naturally had to bring the little ones to see Lu Changsheng. At this time, the little ones looked at Lu Changsheng with a hint of avoidance in their eyes, slightly lowering their heads, clearly knowing they had caused trouble. "What's wrong with you all? This matter isn't your fault. Why are you all like this?" Lu Changsheng saw this and couldn't help but smile. He squatted down, gently rubbed the little ones' heads, and said in a warm voice. In his opinion, this matter wasn't the children's fault at all. How could he scold them? Moreover, looking at the little ones' expressions, he estimated that Lu Lanshu had already scolded them. "Dad, don't you blame us?" Lu Ping'an asked, looking up at Lu Changsheng with a muffled tone. The other little ones also looked at Lu Changsheng. "What do I have to blame you for?" Lu Changsheng smiled and asked. "We caused trouble for you, Dad," Lu Ping'an said. "Did you intentionally cause trouble?" Lu Changsheng asked. "No way. That bad guy wanted to steal Little Black," Lu Sheila said immediately, her face flushed with anger. "He even cursed at us." "That's right, he wanted to steal Little Black and cursed at us, so it's his fault," Lu Changsheng said with a warm tone. "Dad, you always teach us not to cause trouble and to avoid it. But that doesn't mean we should be afraid of trouble. Since trouble has come, let Dad handle it." He also knew that he hadn't done a good job in this aspect, because he had thought that the children would have a stable and peaceful life in the future. He had occasionally taught the children to avoid trouble and not to get involved in disputes. Moreover, these children were mostly raised by their mothers. Lu Miaoyan was okay. But women like Lu Lanshu, who were from the Lu family and lived in the secular world, would ultimately feel constrained when they came to Qingzhou Mountain. Even with his status as their husband, they would still feel inferior in this valley. So they would always teach the children not to cause trouble and not to get involved in disputes, which would affect the children. If the Lu family's ancestor had 10 more years to live, I estimate that the Lu family would experience turmoil in 5 or 6 years. If we need to flee, I'll have to settle my wives and children first. It's just that the children are about the same age, and in a year or 2, I can send them to the secular world. At that time, I'll have to do a good job in their education. Otherwise, if I continue like this, there may be problems with the children's education. Lu Changsheng thought to himself. He had always been aware of the problems with the children's education. Although he didn't say it out loud, he knew it clearly in his heart. With his speed of having children, if he let their mothers raise them, it would be easy to create problems. He needed to have a complete system for the children's education. But he was currently busy with his business in Jiolong Market every day. And with so many children, he really didn't have the time to focus on their education. Moreover, Lu Changsheng didn't think that his teachings would necessarily be correct or effective. His behavior and thoughts were heavily influenced by his past life. After living in this world for so many years, he had gradually adapted to this world's rules of survival, where the strong preyed on the weak. And this might not be suitable for teaching his own children. So Lu Changsheng planned to establish an education system for the children in the secular world and gradually improve it. "Dad, I understand." Lu Ping'an nodded heavily and said, "Thank you, Dad. You're the best, Dad." The two little ones, Lu Wuyo and Lu Sheila, immediately smiled happily and gave Lu Changsheng a kiss. "Haha, Dad is not good to anyone else, only to you all." Lu Changsheng also had a big smile on his face. The birth of these children was indeed because of his selfish desires and utilitarianism. But now they were also one of his motivations to work hard. "Did you get hurt back then?" At this time, Lu Changsheng suddenly thought of what Lu Miaoyan had said in the letter, that Lu Miaoyang was so angry that he wanted to harm the child, and that's when the 9 Netherworld Hound intervened. He was cursing, and Brother Ping'an scolded him, and he even lifted Brother Ping'an up, and that's when Little Black bit him. Lu Sheila immediately said, "Did he also hit you, Ping'an?" Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed slightly, and he spoke in a gentle tone. Originally, he was thinking that, for the sake of the Lu family's face, this matter could be resolved peacefully. After all, isn't it better to avoid trouble? But now that he heard Lu Miaoyang had laid hands on his own child, he was no longer willing to compromise. This matter wasn't even his fault to begin with. It was Lu Miaoyang who had provoked the trouble. Not only did he provoke trouble, but he also bullied his child, and now he wanted him to apologize? What kind of logic was that? Dad, I'm fine. Lu Ping'an scratched his head and smiled. That's good. If something like this happens again, just tell me directly. Lu Changsheng nodded slightly upon hearing this. If the other party had hurt Lu Ping'an, then that would be a different story altogether. Okay. I know, Dad. The few little ones smiled and said. After pacifying the children and letting them go play, Lu Changsheng and his wives had a brief conversation before he went out to find Lu Miaoyang. An hour later, Lu Changsheng arrived at the entrance of a manor. I am Lu Changsheng, here to see Lu Miaoyang. Lu Changsheng knocked on the door and spoke to the butler who opened it. Brother Changsheng, please come in. The butler, who knew Lu Changsheng, immediately invited him in. After leading Lu Changsheng to the main hall and offering him tea, the butler politely said, Brother Changsheng, please wait for a moment. I'll go call young Master Yang. Okay, thank you. Lu Changsheng nodded slightly. In a courtyard within the manor, a young man, wrapped in bandages, lay on a reclining chair. A beautiful woman was gently feeding him fruit beside him. Young Master Yang, Lu Changsheng has come to visit you. At this time, the butler arrived at the courtyard and announced. Oh, Lu Miaoyang, lying on the reclining chair, responded indifferently, fine, bring him over directly. Will this be okay, young Master Yang? The butler asked in concern. Having a guest come to the small courtyard like this was clearly not in line with the etiquette of receiving guests. Are you teaching me how to do things? Lu Miaoyang's tone turned cold. Yes. The butler, hearing this, knew his young master's temperament and didn't say anything else, only letting out a slight sigh. Immediately, the butler returned to the main hall. Brother Changsheng, my young Master Yang has an injury, so he can't walk properly. Please come to the small courtyard to chat. The butler bowed slightly and spoke politely. Okay. Lu Changsheng smiled lightly upon hearing this. Brother Changsheng, this way please. The butler remained polite. Following that, Lu Changsheng followed the butler to a pavilion in the small courtyard, surrounded by swaying bamboo. As he entered the courtyard, he immediately saw a young man lying on a reclining chair, being attended to and eating spirit fruits. Although Lu Changsheng had never seen the other party before, he knew that this person should be Lu Miaoyang. Young Master Yang, Brother Changsheng has arrived. The butler bowed and announced. Lu Miaoyang responded lightly. He then sat up slightly, looking at Lu Changsheng and smiled. Lu Changsheng, I'm very happy you could come. This matter has already been publicly discussed within the family, and I'm too lazy to argue with you about it. This time, your dog bit me, and you must hand it over to me for punishment, and also compensate me with 500 spirit stones. Otherwise, this matter will not be resolved peacefully. Lu Miaoyang spoke with an arrogant tone. Lu Changsheng, upon hearing this, furrowed his brow and said, Is your brain okay? He had originally come here without any intention of making amends. He just wanted to go through the motions and see the other party's attitude. Now, seeing Lu Miaoyang's arrogant demeanor, Lu Changsheng couldn't help but think of teaching him a lesson. After all, the 9 Netherworld Hound had bitten the other party, which was already a serious offense, and according to clan rules, it required punishment. If that was the case, then beating him up again wouldn't be a big deal. Lu Miaoyang's expression changed, and his face darkened. Lu Changsheng, what do you mean? I'm saying, is your brain okay? And when did I say I came to apologize and make amends with you? Lu Changsheng took a step forward and spoke indifferently. As soon as these words were spoken, Lu Miaoyang's eyes widened in shock, and his face turned red with rage. He never expected Lu Changsheng to dare speak to him like that. With a sudden clap of his hand, he stood up and his face darkened with anger. Lu Changsheng, how dare you speak to me like that? You're just a son-in-law of the Lu family. If it weren't for the Lu family taking you in, you wouldn't even know where you are. Do you think that just because you've become the Lu family's son-in-law, you can fly high and become a phoenix? How dare you speak to me like that? However, before he could even react, Lu Changsheng had already walked up to him. Without waiting for him to respond, Lu Changsheng's hand shot out like a lightning bolt, grabbing Lu Miaoyun's neck and lifting him up high. Then his right hand rose, and with a loud slap, he slapped Lu Miaoyung's face. How dare you speak to me like that? Who do you think you are? You're just a dog, and I not only dare to speak to you like that, I'll even hit you. You bully my child, and yet you're still so arrogant, making me, Lu Changsheng, apologize to you? Do you think I'm someone to be trifled with? Lu Changsheng's words were accompanied by a series of slaps, each one landing with a loud slap sound, making Lu Miaoyun's eyes spin and his mouth utter painful cries. His face was visibly swelling, with blood oozing from the corner of his mouth. This. The butler and the beautiful woman beside him were shocked, their eyes fixed on the scene. They never expected Lu Changsheng to suddenly attack their young master, lifting him up and slapping him. Brother Changsheng, no, please stop. The butler quickly came to his senses and shouted in alarm. He rushed to Lu Changsheng's side, trying to grab him and make him stop. Humph. Lu Changsheng let out a cold snort, stopping his hand, and then flung Lu Miaoyang to the side with a loud thud. Lu Miaoyang was thrown to the ground, and he let out a muffled cry. His face was swollen and bloody, with teeth and blood spilling out. You're so old, yet you still bully children, and you even laid hands on a 6- or 7-year-old child. You're simply shameless. Since no one has taught you a lesson, then let me teach you one. Lu Changsheng's expression was cold and detached, looking down at Lu Miaoyang, who was lying on the ground, and his voice was filled with disdain. Lu Miaoyang was also stunned by Lu Changsheng's direct attack. He never expected Lu Changsheng to not give him face and instead directly hit him. If it weren't for the burning pain on his face and body, he would have thought he was dreaming. At this moment, a surge of unbearable shame, anger, and humiliation welled up in his heart, making his whole body tremble with rage. His eyes turned red, and his voice was shaking with anger as he roared, Lu Changsheng, I'll kill you. As soon as he spoke, a golden flying sword appeared, like a long rainbow, its sword energy surging, heading straight for Lu Changsheng. Young Master Yang, no. The butler, seeing this, was alarmed, shouting out in panic. As he spoke, spiritual energy surged, and a water shield was deployed, attempting to block the golden flying sword. However, he only had a chi refining 4th stage cultivation. The temporarily deployed water shield technique was fundamentally unable to withstand the flying sword's sharpness and was broken through in the blink of an eye. Clang! At the same time, in that instant, Lu Changsheng also slapped his storage bag, and the Qingyan sword emerged, clashing with the golden flying sword, producing sparks and a ringing sound. Kill me. My flying sword is also not to be underestimated. Lu Changsheng controlled the flying sword and did not want to reveal his true cultivation. Then he took out a stack of talismans and coldly looked at Lu Miaoyang. Changsheng, please calm down, please calm down. The butler, seeing this scene, immediately exclaimed with a worried face, fearing that Lu Changsheng would continue to take action. Lu Miaoyang was already injured. Lu Changsheng had so many talisman cards in his hand. If the two were to really fight, Lu Miaoyang would be no match. Moreover, seeing Lu Changsheng directly slap Lu Miaoyang, it seemed he was not as good-tempered as rumored. Now, coming to the door was not for reconciliation, but to pick a fight. Once they start fighting, no matter how serious it is, someone will really die. No matter what, if the two were to take action, the matter would escalate, and the consequences would be unbearable. As the butler, he couldn't bear the responsibility. Lu Miaoyang saw the stack of talisman in Lu Changsheng's hand and couldn't help but reveal a fearful and resentful expression in his eyes. A few hints of retreat emerged in his heart. But the pain on his face, the anger of being humiliated, the suffocation and shame in his heart made him go mad. He, Lu Miaoyang, as the direct descendant of the Lu family, had always been carefree. When his parents were alive, he had their care. Even after his parents' death, he had their legacy to protect him. Now he was being ridiculed, slapped, and scolded like a dog by a farmer's family son-in-law. If this were to spread, he would not only lose face, but also become a laughingstock in the Lu family. Lu Changsheng, try killing me. Lu Miaoyang's eyes were red, his neck was stiff, and he roared angrily. Whoosh! In an instant, a breaking sound echoed. The Qing'an sword was like overflowing autumn water, with golden light flowing, sword energy surging, and slashing at Lu Miaoyang. The sword tip landed on Lu Miaoyang's neck. But under the sword's energy, a long blood stain had already appeared on Lu Miaoyang's neck, with blood flowing out. If you dare to say another word, I will fulfill your wish and let you try my flying sword's sharpness. Lu Changsheng's expression was cold and detached as he looked at Lu Miaoyang. Brother Changsheng. Brother Changsheng. Don't do it. The butler, seeing the scene, looked at the Qing'an sword suspended in front of Lu Miaoyang, its sword aura fluctuating unpredictably, and cried out in alarm to Lu Changsheng. Lu Changsheng didn't speak and only gazed at Lu Miaoyang with a cold and detached expression. At this moment, Lu Miaoyang didn't dare to speak anymore. He could clearly feel the flying sword suspended at his neck. He could feel the piercing sword aura, sending a stinging sensation to his neck. As long as Lu Changsheng thought, this flying sword would instantly pierce through his neck and take his life. Moreover, Lu Changsheng's demeanor and aura made him feel that if he uttered another word, the other party would really dare to kill him. Although he was extremely angry and humiliated, he was still overcome with fear and retreat in his heart, afraid that Lu Changsheng would truly kill him with one sword. Useless thing. I, Lu Changsheng, may have come from a humble background and entered the Lu family as a son-in-law, but I'm no longer the same son-in-law as before. In these years, I've done my part for the Lu family, and I've asked myself if I've done enough for the Lu family. You provoked me, bullied my son, and wanted to take away my beloved beast. You even wanted me to apologize and make amends with you? How ridiculous. If you still dare to entangle with me, just like this table. Lu Changsheng saw the fear in the other party's eyes and coldly shouted. The moment the words fell, the Qing'an sword suspended at Lu Miaoyang's neck let out a hum sound, like a lightning bolt, and slashed the stone table beside him. Instantly, it split the stone table like cutting tofu, dividing it into two. After speaking, Lu Changsheng gave Lu Miaoyang a cold glance, sheathed the Qing'an sword, and turned to leave the courtyard with large strides. He was on guard against Lu Miaoyang in his heart. Considering that the other party was a member of the Lu family, he had already given him an opportunity. If the other party still dared to make a move and entangle with him, it would be as he said, and he would directly kill him with one sword. After all, he now had the strength and confidence to do so. He could ignore the Lu family's rules and constraints. If things really got out of hand, he could use this opportunity to choose to leave the Lu family. Although it wasn't a good time to leave the Lu family, it wasn't a good choice either. But now, he didn't need to compromise himself in such matters. Moreover, Lu Changsheng felt that sometimes, slightly showcasing his abilities and being firm was a good thing. Because this way, people would know his character and foundation, and wouldn't dare to trifle with him, and would think twice before acting. If one always shows weakness, it's not always a good thing. Of course, this is on the premise that one has the strength and confidence. Without the strength and confidence, it's all just empty talk. Gulp. Lu Miaoyang looked at Lu Changsheng's departing back, wanting to say something, do something, but ultimately lowered his head, swallowing his saliva. The stinging sensation in his throat made him afraid. He was really afraid that Lu Changsheng would kill him with one sword. And the butler, seeing the scene, saw Lu Changsheng leave and couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. He quickly helped Lu Miaoyang up, saying, "Young Master Yang, are you okay? Do I look like I'm okay? You actually dared to block me just now." Lu Miaoyang angrily roared. "Young Master Yang, Lu Changsheng is now favored by the family. Why bother offending him?" The butler saw his young master's demeanor and sighed. "I've watched you grow up, and I really don't want you to continue like this. It's okay now in the Lu family, and the Lu family has always remembered the kindness of his parents. But once he left the Lu family, it would be easy to suffer losses, big losses. Do you still want to teach me how to do things?" Lu Miaoyang angrily shouted, then looked at Lu Changsheng's disappearing back, his eyes filled with resentment and killing intent. Lu Changsheng, today's humiliation, I will definitely make you pay back 1,000-fold in the future. For him, the humiliation at this moment, even if he drained the waters of the 3 rivers and 5 lakes, would be hard to wash away. This vendetta would not rest until death. After leaving Lu Miaoyang's residence, Lu Changsheng directly headed to Lu Yuanding's residence. After all, the person had been dealt with. The scene had been walked through. Naturally, he had to tell Lu Yuanding, the patriarch of the Lu family, about Lu Miaoyang's matter. And see how Lu Yuanding, the patriarch of the Lu family, would handle this matter. About an hour later, Lu Changsheng arrived at Lu Yuanding's residence. However, Lu Yuanding was not there and was busy. He had to wait for almost a cup of tea's time before Lu Yuanding came over. Changsheng, you're here because of Miaoyang's matter, right? Lu Yuanding quickly came to the main hall and immediately spoke. Yes, Patriarch, I've come to apologize to you this time. Lu Changsheng nodded. This matter isn't your fault, it was Miaoyang who took the initiative first. You don't need to worry, even if we follow the family rules to handle it, I'll try to get you a lighter punishment. Lu Yuanding sighed slightly. As a patriarch, the most difficult thing to handle is internal family matters. Especially when it comes to Lu Miaoyang and Lu Changsheng's situations, which are both quite special. One has parents who died in battle for the family. The other is a member of the Lu family, but the time is still a bit short. He hasn't been fully integrated or accepted yet. So when something like this happens, it's not easy to handle. He also hopes that, if possible, Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoyang can reconcile and put the matter behind them. Patriarch, I've come to apologize, because I went to find Lu Miaoyang to make amends, but in a fit of rage, I ended up beating him up. Lu Changsheng opened his mouth and spoke directly. What, you beat up Lu Miaoyang? Lu Yuanding heard this and couldn't help but be shocked, feeling very puzzled. In his impression, Lu Changsheng had always been an honest and steady person. From his performance in the Lu family over the years, it was clear. Except for getting married, having children, and never causing trouble, he always got along with others. Even with his exceptional talent in the talisman path, he never showed any arrogance. This was also one of the things they were most satisfied with about Lu Changsheng. But now, Lu Changsheng was saying that he had beaten up Lu Miaoyang in a fit of rage. This was completely unexpected. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. After all, he had let Lu Changsheng come back, thinking that he could calm things down. But now, it seemed that reconciliation was impossible. Yes, Patriarch. Lu Changsheng nodded calmly. You're being a bit impulsive, aren't you? Lu Yuanding said, rubbing his temples. Originally, he had discussed this matter with the 4th elder and several clan elders. If Lu Miaoyang was going to keep causing trouble, they would handle it according to the family rules, and the matter would be settled with a lighter punishment, giving Lu Miaoyang a lesson. At the same time, they would let the 4th elder intervene and calm down Lu Changsheng's side. But now Lu Changsheng had beaten up Lu Miaoyang. This matter cannot be easily handled. Patriarch, I don't think I was impulsive. The fault doesn't lie with my son, so I can't apologize and make amends. Moreover, Lu Miaoyang didn't have any intention of reconciling. He was arrogant and looked down on me. Can I just swallow my anger and not say anything? Lu Changsheng spoke loudly. Lu Yuanding sighed, looking at Lu Changsheng's cold and stern expression and understanding in his heart that as a parent, it was impossible to remain calm and composed in the face of such a situation. He pondered for a moment and said, Changsheng, I can understand your feelings. Since the matter has already occurred, let's put an end to it here. I will handle this according to the family rules, and I won't show favoritism to anyone. If you have anything, you can directly tell me, and please don't be impulsive again. Without rules, one cannot achieve perfection. You are now a member of our Lu family, so you must also follow the rules. I hope you can understand this. Lu Yuanding's tone was also gentle. I understand, Patriarch. Lu Changsheng nodded. He still had a good impression of Lu Yuanding, the patriarch of the Lu family who had brought him into the family. He also knew that Lu Yuanding was a fair and impartial patriarch who wouldn't make things difficult for others. If the Lu family was willing to handle the matter publicly, he would naturally accept it. If not, then his relationship with the Lu family would also come to an end. As for the Lu family and the fourth elder kindness, he would repay it in the future. All right, you can understand, that's good. You can go back now and I'll handle this matter. Lu Yuanding saw Lu Changsheng nod, smiled, and patted him on the shoulder. Patriarch, then I'll take my leave. Since he was polite, Lu Changsheng was naturally polite as well, and said with a bow. After Lu Changsheng left, Lu Yuanding tapped his fingers on the table and sighed deeply. It's really a troublesome time. Husband, how is it? When Lu Changsheng returned home, Lu Miaoyun immediately came to ask him about the discussion. I beat up Lu Miaoyang. Lu Changsheng didn't hide it and directly said. After all, there was no need to hide this matter. It was estimated that tomorrow or the day after, the matter would be exposed, and Lu Miaoyun would naturally know. Lu Miaoyun heard Lu Changsheng's words, was shocked, and her red lips slightly opened, showing some surprise and disbelief. She didn't expect her husband to go and reconcile with Lu Miaoyang, only to beat him up. To her, Lu Changsheng had always been a gentle and courteous person. In all these years, she had never seen Lu Changsheng quarrel with anyone or get angry. Now he had beaten up Lu Miaoyang, making her feel unbelievable. It's fine if you beat him up. Miaoyang's character has always been bad, and not many people like him. He's always relied on his parents' legacy and made a show of himself in the family. Lu Miaoyun immediately spoke angrily, directly taking Lu Changsheng's side. She felt that her husband must have beaten up Lu Miaoyang because he was too arrogant. Otherwise, with her husband's temperament, how could he possibly strike someone? Yuner, don't you think I've acted a bit impulsively this time? Lu Changsheng was taken aback by Lu Miaoyun's words. He wasn't worried about this trip's consequences. The only concern was that it would make things difficult for Lu Miaoyun and the fourth elder. My husband's temperament has always been gentle, and you never got into troubles with others. It's definitely because Miaoyang was too arrogant, and my husband was forced to take action. Lu Miaoyun said, then looked at Lu Changsheng and asked, Husband, are you injured? No, that Lu Miaoyang's cultivation was not high, and he's already injured. How could he possibly harm me? Lu Changsheng heard this and couldn't help but laugh. His mood also improved somewhat. If his wife were to advise him that he was impulsive, he could understand. But deep down, he would still feel a bit unhappy. Now, his wife was wholeheartedly supporting him, showing concern for him, which made him feel quite comfortable. Yuner, let's say, if I choose to leave the Lu family in the future, what would you do? Lu Changsheng let out a light sigh, asking with a carefree expression. He hadn't decided to leave the Lu family yet. However, the situation with the Lu family's old ancestor and the Lu family's circumstances made him prepare for this eventuality. He was always ready to flee. After all, if he were to leave the Lu family, he couldn't possibly go alone. He would have to take his wives and children with him. But if he wanted to leave the Lu family, there was one problem he couldn't avoid. It was the issue of his wives. Someone like Chu Zhenjin would be easy to handle. But Lu Miaoyun, Lu Lanshu, Lu Zier, Lu Qing'er, and the other Lu family women would be difficult to deal with. Especially Lu Miaoyun. In the past, the Lu family, along with the fourth elder, had married Lu Miaoyun to him to bind him to the Lu family. Now, if he wanted to leave the Lu family, it would definitely make things difficult for his wife, and it would be a hard choice. When Lu Miaoyun heard this, she was slightly taken aback. She immediately thought that Lu Changsheng was feeling wronged because of the Lu Miaoyang incident and was worried about the consequences of beating him. She immediately spoke in a soft voice, Husband, don't think too much about it. Let's go tell Grandma about this, and it won't be a big deal. I've already spoken to Patriarch, and I believe Patriarch will make a decision on that side. Lu Changsheng smiled and said. He didn't go to find the fourth elder after beating someone, but instead went directly to find Lu Yuanding. He did not want to make things difficult for the fourth elder, and bother her to clean up the mess for him. Oh dear, husband, don't think so much, just go and tell Grandma about it. Lu Miaoyun saw this and immediately coquettishly pulled Lu Changsheng to see the fourth elder. Okay, let's go. Lu Changsheng saw this and couldn't help but smile helplessly, following Lu Miaoyun out the door. He also roughly understood Lu Miaoyun's attitude. It was likely that unless it reached a certain point, Lu Miaoyun would definitely try to keep him in the Lu family. Sigh. Lu Changsheng let out a sigh in his heart. He knew that leaving the Lu family wouldn't be that simple. After so many years in the Lu family, what bound him wasn't just a single contract. There were also the many Lu family wives and the emotional ties with the Lu family. He, Lu Changsheng, wasn't someone who was heartless and selfish, only caring about his own interests. He had a clear distinction between gratitude and resentment in his heart. He couldn't just leave the Lu family when they were about to face a crisis, saying goodbye and walking away. Although the Lu family and the fourth elder were good to him because of his value, no matter what, these years, the Lu family had indeed treated him well and not mistreated him. This situation made him feel that if he were to see the Lu family facing a crisis now, he couldn't just leave immediately, and his heart would indeed feel a bit uneasy. This matter isn't urgent, and there are still many years before the Lu family's old ancestors' situation becomes critical. As long as the Lu family has a new foundation establishment cultivator born, these problems will all disappear, and I'll be able to continue living in peace and stability in the Lu family. And as time passes, my strength and abilities will also continue to increase. With strength, many difficulties and problems will be easily resolved. Lu Changsheng thought to himself, not overthinking this aspect. Immediately, the two of them arrived at the fourth elder's residence. Changxing Yuner, why are you here? Upon hearing that the two of them had come, the fourth elder also arrived shortly afterward. She was dressed in a simple and elegant deep bluish-green dress, her black hair neatly pinned up with a jade hairpin. Her demeanor exuded a dignified and aristocratic air. Grandmother. Lu Miaoyun immediately went up to her, took her hand, and recounted what had happened. Changxing, since it's already happened, there's no need for you to worry about it anymore. Leave the family matters to your grandmother to handle. The fourth elder spoke gently after hearing Lu Miaoyun's account. At this moment, she also felt a surge of anger in her heart. Over the years of their acquaintance, she could tell that Lu Changsheng was an emotional person. He had developed a sense of belonging to the Lu family and was gradually integrating himself into it. Yet now, Lu Miaoyang had caused such a ruckus, planting the idea of leaving the Lu family in Lu Changsheng's mind. How could she not feel angry about this? Others may not understand, but as an elder of the Lu family, she was well aware of the family's current situation. The Lu family was indeed in a state of calm before the storm. They needed to unite and work together to overcome the impending disaster. How could they allow Lu Changsheng, a talented talisman master, to harbor resentment and contemplate leaving? After all, it was only a matter of time before Lu Changsheng became a second-stage talisman master, a fact that was as certain as could be. He would undoubtedly become one of the core high-stage members of the Lu family in the future. Grandmother, I'm sorry for the trouble. Lu Changsheng smiled wryly and said. He had only asked Lu Miaoyun casually, just in case, as a precautionary measure. But now, Lu Miaoyun's actions had caused even the fourth elder to misunderstand that he truly intended to leave the Lu family. However, he couldn't explain himself at this point without sounding like he was making excuses. Who would believe that he was just asking casually? We are family, there's no need to be so formal with your grandmother. If you have any grievances, you can always come to me. Don't keep it bottled up inside. The fourth elder continued, her face filled with kindness and her tone warm. No, I have no grievances. Lu Changsheng felt helpless. He didn't want to dwell on this topic any longer. Then, as if he had just remembered something, he said, Right, grandmother, I almost succeeded in drawing a high-grade talisman not long ago. But I always fell short by a tiny bit, and no matter what I tried, I couldn't quite make it work. Now that I have the time, I would like to ask for your guidance, grandmother. Lu Changsheng made his request. He revealed that he was a medium-grade talisman master, and it would be 3 years in 2 months. Originally, according to his plan, he intended to reveal it next time he came back. That is, 3 months later, to show the Lu family that he could draw high-grade talisman and become a high-grade talisman master. But now that he was back and this incident happened, Lu Changsheng felt that he could reveal the matter of being a high-grade talisman master a bit earlier. One is to facilitate his future actions and performance. He could openly put the high-grade talisman on sale in the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop in the future. Also, it would give the Lu family some weight when dealing with his matter so that the fourth elder wouldn't find it too difficult. What, Changxing, you almost succeeded in drawing a high-grade talisman? The fourth elder was surprised to hear this, showing astonishment on her face, even though she had always observed Lu Changsheng's progress in talisman making. But at this moment, hearing Lu Changsheng say that he almost drew a first-tier high-grade talisman, she was also very shocked. After all, in the art of talisman crafting, the difference between a medium-grade talisman and a high-grade one can be considered a significant hurdle. Many people struggle their whole lives without being able to overcome this hurdle. And Lu Changsheng had only started dealing with high-grade talisman scrolls 3 months ago. Now, he was just a step away from success. How could she not be amazed? Once he successfully drew it, Lu Changsheng would be considered a high-grade talisman master. Medium-grade talisman and high-grade talisman are indeed a hurdle. There's also a clear distinction in status between medium-grade talisman masters and high-grade ones. A medium-grade talisman master can find a decent living anywhere. But becoming a high-grade talisman master, able to consistently craft high-grade talisman, would be enough to gain entry into many factions. They would become an esteemed guest, an honored guest, even within the Lu family. If Lu Changsheng ascended to a high-grade talisman master, his status within the Lu family would also rise further. Beside him, Lu Miaoyun couldn't help but glance at her husband, her eyes shining with admiration. She was amazed and in awe of her husband's talent on the path of talisman crafting. Thinking back to when she married Lu Changsheng, he had only recently become a medium-grade talisman master. Now, with only 2 months left until 3 years, Lu Changsheng was about to become a high-grade talisman master, leaving her deeply astonished. Back then, Sister Miaoga spent over 5 years from being a medium-grade talisman master to becoming a high-grade one, right? Lu Miaoyun lightly pursed her lips and compared them. However, this comparison made her even more aware of her husband's astonishing talent in the talisman path, and her gaze towards Lu Changsheng was full of admiration and worship. Yes, it's just a little bit short, but I can't seem to get over it, Lu Changsheng nodded. Show Grandma what you're drawing now, the fourth elder said immediately. Okay. Lu Changsheng immediately got up and went to the table. He took out his medium-grade talisman pen and talisman materials from his storage bag and began drawing the talisman. The fourth elder came to his side to quietly observe. Seeing this, Lu Miaoyun didn't dare to disturb her husband and stood quietly by. Oops. Just as Lu Changsheng was earnestly drawing the high-grade golden light shield talisman, he was about 80 to 90% done when suddenly, his inspiration was interrupted. The lines of the talisman became chaotic, and smoke rose from the talisman paper. You don't have any problems with the outlines of the talisman lines, but your control over your spiritual power is not precise enough. In these areas, here, and at these few turning points, there are small flaws, which lead to a chain reaction, ultimately resulting in the failure of the talisman scroll. After examining it, the fourth elder immediately pointed out the problem. Come. Feel my spiritual power, the fourth elder said gently as she stepped forward and held Lu Changsheng's hand, guiding him through each stroke of the golden light shield talisman. At this point, you need to tighten your spiritual power, but at this turning point, you have to quickly slide past it, then add a bit of bounce afterwards. When you're here, your speed needs to be fast, or else it will lead to a buildup of spiritual power, just like what happened just now. The fourth elder instructed patiently, teaching him step by step. Eventually, a golden light shield talisman was successfully drawn. Come on, Changxing, try again. The fourth elder released his hand and said kindly to Lu Changsheng. Okay. Lu Changsheng nodded, took a deep breath, and put on a serious and slightly nervous expression. He took a couple of sips of white jade 100 flowers wine. This had become a habit he developed under the guidance of the fourth elder in talisman making. One was to show that his cultivation was too low and his spiritual power was insufficient. And the other reason was that white jade 100 flowers wine had a calming effect. For tasks that consumed a lot of mental energy like talisman crafting, it would be helpful to some extent. After preparing himself, Lu Changsheng held the talisman pen in his hand, looking serious and fully concentrated as he slowly began to draw the talisman scroll. The process was slow and steady. The fourth elder and Lu Miaoyan watched quietly, without saying a word. Buzz. Just as Lu Changsheng was about to complete the final stroke, golden light spread out from the talisman paper, accompanied by a tremor. Then the golden light converged, and the talisman scroll solidified. A first-tier high-grade talisman, the Golden Light Shield Talisman, was complete. Well done! The fourth elder was overjoyed to see the talisman completed and exclaimed repeatedly, "Congratulations, husband!" Seeing the scene, Lu Miaoyan was also filled with joy, her eyes shining brightly. Phew! Lu Changsheng also breathed out a sigh of relief, his face showing a surprised smile as he looked at the fourth elder and said, "Thanks to Grandma's guidance. Changsheng, there's no need to be modest. You were just one step away from completing the high-grade talisman," the fourth elder said with great satisfaction. She then picked up the talisman and said while gently caressing it, "Changsheng, you were a bit inaccurate in your spiritual power in these few areas just now, which led to some weakness in the subsequent inspiration. But now that you've made the breakthrough, Grandma believes that as long as you practice more and become more familiar, you'll be able to master it completely." The fourth elder continued to point out a few problem areas. "Yes, Grandma." Lu Changsheng nodded. This was all intentional on his part. He wanted this talisman to appear as if it had barely succeeded due to luck. He didn't continue to draw proficiently. After all, he had only recently broken through to the 5th stage of qi refining, as he outwardly displayed. Drawing 2 high-grade talisman scrolls was about enough. Just then, the housekeeper arrived in the hall with Lu Bo. "Changsheng, the patriarch wants you to accompany me to the family shrine," Lu Bo said hastily upon seeing Lu Changsheng. "The family shrine? All right." Lu Changsheng replied upon hearing this, immediately realizing it must be related to Lu Miaoyan. He hadn't expected things to move so quickly. He thought it would be tomorrow or the day after. However, the fourth elder frowned upon hearing this and said, "Why are we going to the family shrine?" Although Lu Changsheng's matter with Lu Miaoyan needed to be dealt with according to family rules, it didn't seem like it should escalate to going to the family shrine. "Oh!" Young Master Young broke through and ran to the shrine, clutching his parents' memorial tablets, crying and accusing Changsheng of trying to kill him. He insisted that the patriarch deal with it in the shrine, Lu Bo explained helplessly. Faced with this situation, the patriarch was also helpless, so he asked me to call Changsheng over and, "Elder, you should come along too." Lu Bo sighed deeply, expressing his helplessness. Goodness! Lu Changsheng couldn't help but be stunned upon hearing this, feeling speechless. He felt that Lu Miaoyan was quite extraordinary. To directly run to the Lu family shrine, clutching his parents' memorial tablets and crying for justice. No wonder Lu Miaoyan was usually so arrogant in the Lu family. With such a move, who could withstand it? "Let's go, Changsheng, Grandma will go with you," the fourth elder said, somewhat speechless at this moment, unsure of how to comment on Lu Miaoyan's behavior. Lu Changsheng followed the fourth elder to the deepest part of the Qingju Valley, where the Lu family ancestral hall was located. It was his first time visiting the Lu family ancestral hall. After all, such places were considered forbidden grounds of the Lu family and were not usually accessible to outsiders. The atmosphere around the Lu family ancestral hall was very tranquil. The entire hall was not particularly large in size. It didn't look very magnificent, rather simple and plain. But it emitted a solemn and ancient aura. As Lu Changsheng entered the gate of the ancestral hall, he saw ancient trees reaching for the sky and lush green bamboo. It gave off a sense of simple tranquility amidst the solemnity. However, now, cries were heard, breaking the solemn atmosphere. "Woo woo woo, father, mother. You left your son Yang alone, letting an outsider bully Yang. Lu Changsheng immediately recognized the voice as that of Lu Miaoyang. For a moment, he couldn't connect this distressed voice with the arrogant demeanor he had seen from Lu Miaoyang before. Lu Miaoyang isn't lacking in brains at all. He clearly has his own reliance and fears nothing. Lu Changsheng couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Before, he thought Lu Miaoyang was a brainless playboy. But from his current behavior, he felt that Lu Miaoyang had confidence and believed that the Lu family would favor him. The ancestral land should not be so noisy. This is simply outrageous. The fourth elder also heard the voice and her face showed anger. Then, fearing that Lu Changsheng might worry too much, she reassured him. It's okay, Changsheng. She then led Lu Changsheng into the Lu family ancestral hall. Inside the hall, Lu Miaoyang's face was swollen and bruised like a pig's head, his body wrapped in bandages, and there was a clear blood mark on his neck. His appearance was extremely miserable. He was holding a spirit tablet in his arms and crying loudly. It could be said that seeing him was heartbreaking, making onlookers shed tears. It was like seeing two completely different people compared to when Lu Changsheng first met him. Miaoyang, rest assured, we will handle this matter according to the clan rules, and there will be no bias towards anyone. Yes, let's talk it out. Stop crying. Everyone is here. If you keep making a scene like this, what will happen? Several elders of the Lu family were comforting and persuading him. All right, Lu Miaoyang, Lu Changsheng is here now. I will handle this matter in front of your parents as a witness. At this time, Lu Yuanding also coughed twice, with a dignified look and a steady voice. Thank you, Patriarch. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoyang stopped crying and thanked Lu Yuanding. Then he looked at Lu Changsheng with eyes full of resentment. He couldn't believe that after so many years in the Lu family, he had never been humiliated like this before. Lu Changsheng, Lu Miaoyang claims that you came to his door intending to kill him. Is this true? At this point, Lu Yuanding also looked at Lu Changsheng and spoke with authority. The matter between me and Lu Miaoyang is that he was at fault first. He coveted my family's spiritual pet, bullied my son with power, and when angered by embarrassment, he even wanted to harm my son. This shows the shamelessness of his actions and the maliciousness of his intentions. Even if he was bitten by my cherished beast, it was his own fault. This time I returned, intending to settle things peacefully by visiting him, but he insisted on being aggressive. So I acted out of anger to teach him a lesson. I didn't kill him. That was already considering the kinship within the clan. If I truly wanted to kill him, he would be dead by now. Furthermore, when I used the flying sword, it was because Lu Miaoyang first harbored intentions to kill me. Lu Changsheng spoke with a serious expression. Nonsense. You clearly have no intention of reconciliation. And even if I used the flying sword first, it was because you attacked me first. Lu Miaoyang immediately retorted angrily. Pointing at the marks on his face and the bloodstains on his neck, he cried out, Uncle Yuanding, Grandpa Lin, Grandpa Guang, look at my face and here, all of this was caused by Lu Changsheng's beating. Dad, Mom, why did you leave Yang alone? Woo woo woo. Lu Miaoyang cried out miserably. The other Lu family elders and the fourth elder couldn't help but shake their heads when they saw the two of them. Lu Changsheng remained calm and recounted the situation, while Lu Miaoyang acted unruly and stubborn, instantly making the judgment clear. Lu Miaoyang's silence. This matter will be judged by the clan rules, and your disturbance will not be tolerated. Lu Yuanding rebuked. Patriarch, the truth of this matter is complicated, and I do not wish to argue too much. Although I am not a direct descendant of the Lu family, after more than 7 years in the Lu family, I consider myself a part of the family and am willing to abide by the clan rules. So I ask the family to make a fair judgment on this matter. Lu Changsheng said in a deep voice. He didn't want to argue too much. Mainly because of Lu Miaoyang's attitude, there was really nothing worth arguing about. It was clear that he just wanted to cause trouble and play the victim. He couldn't start crying and lamenting about how he had been in the Lu family for these years, could he? Very well, since that's the case. I, as the patriarch, will make the judgment according to the clan rules. Lu Yuanding nodded upon hearing this, but he didn't immediately announce the verdict. Instead, He looked at the fourth elder, as well as several other elders and clan members. It was evident that they were communicating through telepathy to decide the outcome of the situation. During the process, Lu Yuanding and several Lu family elders seemed to have heard some astonishing news, and their eyes showed surprise, amazement, and shock. Regarding the matter between Lu Miaoyang and Lu Changsheng, Patriarch, will announce the verdict. Patriarch Lu Yuanding spoke with authority. Lu Miaoyang, a descendant of the Lu family, provoked a conflict in the Qingzhou Valley and fought with Lu Changsheng, causing a dispute. He is sentenced to 1 year of salary deduction, 3 years of house arrest, and meditation. Lu Changsheng, due to improper supervision of the spiritual pet, which bit Lu Miaoyang and engaging in another fight with him, is fined 300 spirit stones and sentenced to 3 years of hard labor. But considering that he did not actively provoke the incident and still needs to continue managing the family business and crafting talisman, the 3 years of hard labor will be commuted to 3 years of salary deduction. Do you accept this verdict? Lu Yuanding spoke with authority. Patriarch, I refuse to accept it. My parents shed blood for the family, contributed to the family's success, and ultimately sacrificed themselves for the family. Yet now, you're biased towards Lu Changsheng and favoring an outsider. However, as soon as the verdict was announced, Lu Miaoyang immediately shouted. Lu Miaoyang! Lu Yuanding and the fourth elder shouted in unison. Lu Changsheng was standing right here, yet Lu Miaoyang referred to him as an outsider. It was important to note that Lu Changsheng was not only the son-in-law of the Lu family, but also a high-grade talisman master now. I refuse to accept it. I am unwilling. Lu Changsheng is just a burden to the family. If it weren't for our Lu family taking him in, he wouldn't be where he is today. Now he has beaten me like this and almost killed me, yet the family actually sides with him, helping an outsider bully their own people. Ancestor, I want to see the ancestor. Woo woo woo, if the ancestor knew that you were helping an outsider bully his own people. Lu Miaoyang ignored the reprimands and continued to cry out loudly. Lu Miaoyang, Miaoyang. Several elders nearby saw the situation and tried to drag him away. But Lu Miaoyang clung tightly to 2 spirit tablets, making it difficult for the elders to intervene. Lu Changsheng watched the scene, feeling speechless. He thought the Lu family was quite tolerant. They could tolerate someone like Lu Miaoyang causing such a scene. If someone like him appeared in his family, they would have been slapped directly. No, I won't leave. You are favoring an outsider to bully me. Dad, Mom, why did you leave me alone? Woo woo woo, I want to see the ancestor, let the ancestor make the judgment. Lu Miaoyang was being dragged away, crying loudly. However, just at this moment, unexpectedly, you rascal! Suddenly, a voice as ancient and deep as a bell echoed in the void. Immediately after, Lu Miaoyang was sent flying backward. And the 2 spirit tablets in his hands floated calmly and landed above the ancestral hall, placed neatly in the positions where rows of spirit tablets were placed. Ancestor! Ancestor! We pay our respects to the ancestor. Upon hearing this voice, everyone in the ancestral hall, including Lu Yuanding, the fourth elder, and all the clan elders present, bowed in salute. Lu family ancestor. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng couldn't help but be surprised. He turned his head and immediately saw an elderly man in a Qingzhou robe, with both white hair and a youthful appearance, exuding dignity, approaching. He quickly bowed in respect. It was his first time seeing this Lu family ancestor. Even when he married Lu Miaoyun, only the Lu family elders came, and he did not see this ancestor. He didn't expect that things would escalate to the point where even the Lu family ancestor appeared. You rascal, is the ancestral hall a place for you to cause trouble? The Lu family ancestor looked at Lu Miaoyang nearby and directly reprimanded him. Ancestor, I. Facing the Lu family ancestor, even Lu Miaoyang was frightened and dared not cause any more trouble. After all, the Lu family ancestor was the sky of the Qingzhou mountain Lu family. He dared to act unruly and throw tantrums because of the affection the Lu family ancestor had for him and the debt owed to his parents. Now that the Lu family ancestor had truly appeared, he didn't dare to continue throwing tantrums. Yuamong has a great reputation in his life. How could he give birth to such a disappointing thing like you? If it weren't for respect for the Yuan Long, I would have slapped you to death. The Lu family ancestor said with disappointment. Don't embarrass yourself any further. Just as Yuanding said, let him reflect on his actions at home. If he dares to cause trouble again, he will be severely punished. The Lu family ancestor said directly. Yes, ancestor. Lu Yuanding immediately nodded respectfully. Yes, ancestor. Two other Lu family elders immediately stepped forward and escorted Lu Miaoyang out of the ancestral hall. You are Lu Changsheng, aren't you? At this moment, the Lu family ancestor looked at Lu Changsheng beside him and spoke. Lu Changsheng pays respects to the ancestor. Lu Changsheng looked at the elderly man with white hair in front of him, unsure why he suddenly turned his gaze towards him, and immediately bowed respectfully. Although the Lu family ancestor in front of him had a calm demeanor and didn't exude much aura, just standing there gave him a profound and unfathomable feeling. It was nothing like what Yun Ningrong had described, that this Lu family ancestor looked like he had at most 10 years left to live. Moreover, in front of this Lu family ancestor, he couldn't help but feel a prickling sensation on his back, as if the Lu family ancestor could see right through him. At this moment, Lu Changsheng wasn't sure if the jade pendant given to him by the woman in colorful robes would be of any use. Would his cultivation level, aura, and situation be seen through by this Lu family ancestor? After all, the Lu family ancestor before him was a foundational stage cultivator. A foundational stage ancestor, so terrifying. If he sees through me and it's dangerous, I don't know if I'll have time to call for help. Lu Changsheng nervously thought. He dared to lay hands on Lu Miaoyang in the Lu family because he had some confidence in his strength. He felt that there was no need to continue to yield unconditionally and could be a bit more assertive. But he didn't expect that this matter would escalate to the point where even the Lu family ancestor would appear. Facing this Lu family ancestor, he couldn't help but feel a bit nervous. After all, his confidence came from the second-tier talisman and the second-tier puppet. However, the power of the second-tier talisman was only equivalent to a casual attack from an early-stage foundational cultivator. And the second-tier puppet couldn't possibly be a match for a foundational stage cultivator. As for activating the jade pendant and seeking help from the woman in colorful robes. But in front of such a foundational stage cultivator, he didn't know if he would have time to do so. Well, young man, you're quite good. Since you're my Lu family son-in-law, you can treat this place as your own home. A faint smile appeared on the elderly face of the Lu family ancestor. His dry palm gently reached out and patted Lu Changsheng's head. This gesture made Lu Changsheng slightly startled. He didn't know what the Lu family ancestor meant. But he calmed his heart, pursed his lips, and nodded, yes, ancestor. I've always treated this place as my own home. Lu Changsheng said respectfully. Hee, that's good. The Lu family ancestor chuckled and withdrew his somewhat rough hand before leaving. Farewell, ancestor. Farewell, ancestor. Farewell, ancestor. The people present all bowed and saluted. Phew. Seeing the Lu family ancestor leave, Lu Changsheng also breathed a sigh of relief. In this short moment, he felt a cold sweat break out on his back. What's the situation with this Lu family ancestor? Did he see something from me? Lu Changsheng couldn't help but wonder. He couldn't understand why this Lu family ancestor would pay attention to him. Changxing, everything's fine now. At this moment, the fourth elder looked at Lu Changsheng and smiled. Then she whispered, when the time comes for the family to impose that spirit stone penalty, Grandma will take care of it for you. It's okay, Grandma. Lu Changsheng calmed his mind and gently shook his head. He could sense that the judgment was already biased in his favor. He speculated that the fourth elder might have informed Lu Yuanding about his promotion to a high-tier talisman master. You should. This little amount of spirit stones is nothing to Grandma. The fourth elder waved her hand and said warmly, Thank you, Grandma. Seeing this, Lu Changsheng didn't insist any further. He knew it was a gesture of goodwill. Well, it's getting late. You rushed back in a hurry and have been busy all day. Go back and rest early. If you have anything, just come and tell Grandma. The fourth elder led Lu Changsheng away from the Lu family shrine and spoke out. Yes, Grandma. Lu Changsheng nodded slightly and walked towards home. He was still pondering over the matter of the Lu family ancestor, wanting to know why he had taken an interest in him. Anyway, for now, this Lu family ancestor doesn't seem to harbor any hostility towards me. Lu Changsheng thought to himself. He didn't dwell too much on it and quickly headed home. After all, worrying about this was just inviting trouble for himself. If a foundational stage cultivator truly harbored ill intentions towards him, he wouldn't stand a chance. He couldn't just cast the demonic curse of fate on the Lu family ancestor tonight, could he? When Lu Changsheng returned home, he immediately saw a group of wives waiting for him in the courtyard. "Husband, how did it go?" Lu Miaoyun and the other wives approached him, their eyes full of concern. "It's all settled now." Lu Changsheng waved his hand and briefed Lu Miaoyun on the outcome. "This matter wasn't our fault to begin with. Moreover, my husband is now a high-tier talisman master. Even if the family imposes a penalty according to the rules, they will consider my husband's status," Lu Miaoyun said, linking arms with Lu Changsheng. "You've worked hard, husband. We haven't even congratulated my husband on becoming a high-tier talisman master." "Yes, congratulations, husband, on becoming a high-tier talisman master. Congratulations, husband. Congratulations, husband, on advancing further on the path to immortality." The other wives also congratulated him one after another. All right, let's celebrate properly tonight," Lu Changsheng exclaimed, waving his hand. After all, becoming a high-tier talisman master was indeed something worth celebrating. Upon hearing Lu Changsheng's words, the wives couldn't help but blush slightly. In a secluded corner of Qingju Valley, in a courtyard filled with spiritual energy and the fragrance of flowers, the Lu family ancestor was reclining on a lounge chair, resting with his eyes closed, while listening to Lu Yuanding report on the situation of the Lu family. Several Lu family elders were waiting nearby. "As for the Qin family, it's time to strike back. Otherwise, they'll all think I'm on my last legs. Establishing authority is necessary and will save us a lot of trouble," the Lu family ancestor said calmly. "Yes, ancestor." Lu Yuanding immediately nodded in agreement. "By the way, tell me more about this Lu Changsheng," the Lu family ancestor suddenly asked, as if he had just remembered something. Everyone was somewhat surprised that the ancestor was inquiring about Lu Changsheng's situation. Immediately, Lu Yuanding explained Lu Changsheng's situation, and the fourth elder supplemented it. "It seems that this young man is a person with great fortune and luck," the Lu family ancestor said, opening his eyes and speaking leisurely. Today, he had come to the Lu family shrine on a whim after hearing the commotion. But when he saw Lu Changsheng, he found that he couldn't see through him. This surprised him greatly, causing him to take a few more glances. He knew that there was a secret fortune accompanying the young man. With Lu Yuanding and the fourth elder's words at this moment, he was almost certain that Lu Changsheng was a person of great fortune. A person of great fortune. Upon hearing these words, everyone looked at each other in astonishment. They hadn't expected the Lu family ancestor to praise Lu Changsheng in such a manner. The concept of fortune and luck was mystical, but it undeniably existed in the cultivation world. Some people faced numerous calamities throughout their lives, while others enjoyed continuous strokes of luck. Those who experienced such extraordinary luck were often referred to as individuals of great fortune. For individuals like this, even if their aptitude wasn't exceptional, they could still rise to prominence with the support of their extraordinary luck and fortuitous encounters. In the cultivation world, anyone who could make a name for themselves could be considered a person of great fortune. If this young man truly possesses great fortune, he will undoubtedly achieve significant accomplishments in the future. If he can fully integrate into our Lu family, he could also lend his strength to our family, the Lu family ancestor said slowly. Then he sighed and added, "However, you all need to make good use of your time. I won't be able to protect you for much longer." If you haven't reached the foundation establishment stage yet, it might be best to leave Qingzhou Mountain and start your own lives separately lest. Ancestor. Ancestor, you're still in the prime of your life. How could you say such things? Yes, Ancestor. Everyone hurriedly spoke up, but they couldn't help feeling a sense of melancholy in their hearts. They were well aware of the Lu family ancestor's situation. Although his injuries had healed, his lifespan was already limited. That night, after you asked me today what Yunar would choose if you wanted to leave, Lu Miaoyun nestled in Lu Changsheng's arms, her eyes filled with tenderness as she said softly, "Since Yunar is married to you, if you truly want to leave the Lu family, Yunar will naturally go with you." "I was just asking casually, I didn't mean to leave," Lu Changsheng replied gently, knowing that his daytime inquiry had unsettled her. "If I were to leave, where else could I go?" "You don't need to worry." In truth, he didn't expect Lu Miaoyun to make a firm decision to leave the Lu family with him just because he mentioned it. If it were that easy to persuade someone to leave, then marrying women from the Lu family would be meaningless, and it would only add another layer of constraint. After all, families like the Lu family instilled in their members the notion that they should prioritize the interests and risks associated with the family. Such ingrained beliefs were not easily reversed. "Okay," Lu Miaoyun murmured softly, then suddenly gasped, "And then, husband, I'm feeling unwell. You should go find the others, sisters." Before she could finish her sentence, her voice became intermittent and incoherent. "Have you guys heard? Lu Miaoyang has been punished." "What's going on? Tell me more." "It's about him and Lu Changsheng's thing. I heard that Lu Changsheng directly beat up Lu Miaoyang, and then Lu Miaoyang went to the ancestral hall to cause a scene, which eventually provoked the ancestors." Wow, the ancestors even showed up. I didn't expect Changsheng to be so fierce. He's usually so gentle and calm. Yeah, I thought he would just let it go. Honest people can also get angry, and with Lu Miaoyang's temper, who can tolerate it? Yeah, I think Lu Miaoyang just went too far. Good beating, it's a great release. By the way, Lu Changsheng should also be punished by the family, right? How is he punished? I'm not too clear on that, but I heard he was fined a lot of spirit stones. Tisk, TSK, it's really a disaster. The next day, the matter of Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoyang also caused a stir within Qingzhou Mountain, with many Lu family disciples discussing it. After all, this incident had been a big deal a few days ago, and many people were paying attention. Now that the family's judgment has been announced, it's naturally become a topic of conversation, and people are enjoying gossiping about it. Meanwhile, in a courtyard within Qingzhou Valley. Patriarch, take care. Lu Changsheng saw Lu Yuanding off and let out a sigh of relief. Lu Yuanding had come to comfort him, worried that he might feel wronged and resentful about yesterday's judgment. Although the family had fined him a large amount of spirit stones, the fourth elder had paid it on his behalf. The second reason was to discuss the benefits. Lu Yuanding had learned about Lu Changsheng becoming a high-grade talisman master through the fourth elder. And since the fourth elder had already said so, there was no need to conduct another assessment. So Lu Yuanding came directly to discuss the new benefits with Lu Changsheng. The original 10 spirit stones per month had been increased to 30. The 20 caddies of jade rice had been increased to 50. And for every talisman task completed, the reward had been increased from 10 spirit stones to 30. If he exceeded the quota, the Lu family would still purchase the excess talismans at the original price. However, the excess talismans would be exchanged for family contribution points instead of spirit stones. The family contribution points could be exchanged for spirit stones. They could also be used to exchange for pills, heavenly materials, and earthly treasures at the Lu family's treasure pavilion. The prices would be 2 to 3% cheaper than the market price. It was a benefit for the family's disciples. As for the benefits, Lu Changsheng didn't have much of a reaction, mainly because his spending habits had changed. Previously, he had killed a wave of rogue cultivators and earned tens of thousands of spirit stones. He would casually spend a few thousand spirit stones. So now, facing a few dozen spirit stones per month, he didn't have much of a feeling. I remember when I first came to the Lu family, I only had 2 spirit stones per month. I had to carefully calculate every spirit stone, and now I'm facing dozens of spirit stones, but I don't have any feeling. Lu Changsheng shook his head in amazement. He thought back to the days when he would carefully divide one spirit stone into 2 parts. Wealth and riches are fleeting, but steady and gradual progress is the true path. After all, where did so much wealth come from? Lu Changsheng adjusted his mindset, warning himself. After staying at Qingzhou Mountain for 3 days, Lu Changsheng bid farewell to his wives, rode his steel-feathered eagle, and returned to Jiolong Market. Actually, he wanted to stay at home for a while, but he couldn't help but think about the spirit talisman shop that needed his attention. In 2 days, it would be time to inspect the goods again. However, he had already spoken to the fourth elder. He wanted to ask Lu Miaoge to help take care of the shop while he rested at home for a while. The reason was simple. When he first went to Jiolong Market, he couldn't refuse. Moreover, he wanted to go to the market to sell the talismans on his body, and to buy materials for the 100 treasure refinement body tempering technique, as well as to acquire the fairy. But now, all these things had been taken care of, and he could take a break. There was no need to stay in the market all the time. He planned to stay at Qingzhou Mountain for a while, spending more time with his wives and children. Because next year, he would send Lu Ping'an and the other children to the secular world. For now, he would take a break, stay at home, and spend more time with his children. The fourth elder agreed to Lu Changsheng's request. He would let Lu Miaoge take over in 2 months. Lu Changsheng would stay at home, taking care of his wives and children. In the future, if he had time, he could alternate with Lu Miaoge to manage the spirit talisman shop. This way, the 2 of them would have an easier time. 2 days later, a steel-feathered eagle landed outside Jiolong Market. Lu Changsheng entered the market and headed towards the spirit talisman shop. Is that him? It's really fate, what a coincidence. Just then, on the bustling street, a beautiful young girl in a purple dress saw Lu Changsheng, hesitated for a moment, and then smiled. The girl pretended to stroll around, following Lu Changsheng closely. After following him for a while, the girl saw Lu Changsheng enter a spirit talisman shop. She looked up at the sign above the shop. Qingzhou Lu Family Spirit Talisman Shop. Then, the girl smiled and walked in. After a while, the girl smiled and walked out of the shop. The owner of the Qingzhou Lu Family Spirit Talisman Shop. He's a member of the Qingzhou Lu family? A member of a foundation establishing family. How could he have talismans on him, and so many of them? The girl frowned, thinking to herself, this person must have a big secret, a great opportunity. Otherwise, a member of a foundation establishing family would never have so many talismans around them. No wonder, when I invited him to explore the ancient tomb, he didn't bat an eye. The girl thought to herself, as long as I wait for a while, the love-locking goo will recover its energy, and I can use it to control people. This person has so many talismans around him, and has even taken away 2 of my foundation-establishing spiritual objects. He has even gained the wealth of the Ko clan's 5 evils. With such secrets and opportunities, he's worthy of being the first target of my love-locking goo. As long as the love-locking goo bites him, he'll be unable to resist my charms. By then, all his wealth and secrets will be mine. In the girl's heart, a dark path unfolded, and a smile appeared on her face. The originally clear and elegant face now had an added layer of mysterious and unpredictable charm, making it difficult for others to grasp. At this moment, Lu Changsheng was unaware that he was being watched. After returning to the spirit talisman shop and inquiring about the recent situation with manager Zhang Shan, he went to the 3rd floor. He checked the storage room and the talisman room. He looked at the puppets he had created and the 2nd-level talisman diagrams he had drawn to see if he had left any traces. After all, he was about to return home to accompany his wife and children. He would hand over the shop to Lu Miaoga to manage. Although he usually paid attention, he still needed to confirm everything to avoid being discovered. After checking and confirming that there were no issues, Lu Changsheng felt relieved. He then took out the talisman-making tools and began to draw the talisman diagrams. A month later, in the spirit talisman shop, Lu Changsheng was drawing talisman diagrams. Just then, a system prompt tone sounded. Congratulations, the number of descendants has reached 50, and you have obtained a designated lottery reward. The reward for 50 children had arrived on schedule. Lu Changsheng didn't show any surprise. A designated lottery? But seeing this designated lottery, Lu Changsheng was slightly taken aback, feeling somewhat astonished. However, the next moment, he understood what this designated lottery meant. The lottery disc has 7 areas: skills, techniques, pets, pills, spiritual treasures, and others. In the past, the lottery were random, and the rewards were obtained randomly from one of the regions. While this designated lottery allowed him to specify a region to draw from. A designated lottery, designated area for the lottery? Lu Changsheng raised an eyebrow. He thought to himself, system, I want to draw. Immediately, the familiar lottery plate appeared. Should I draw a technique or magical treasures? Looking at the lottery plate in front of him, Lu Changsheng thought for a moment. Having drawn so many times, he had already drawn from all 7 regions. He knew that even if he could specify one, the randomness was still very high. Currently, if he had to choose, he was relatively inclined towards techniques and magical treasures. Techniques were what he currently lacked, a main cultivation technique. After all, this trashy returning to the origin technique had been abandoned by him for many years. He had always wanted a chi refining cultivation technique. But these lottery, each item had a high degree of uncertainty. Even if he specified a technique, the system might give him a supplementary technique like the immortal posture. Or it might give him a body tempering technique like the 100 treasure refinement body tempering technique. Or maybe other techniques. If that were the case, he would be at a loss. Relatively speaking, magical treasures were more stable. After all, magical treasures would likely be usable for cultivating the 100 treasure refinement body tempering technique. Magical treasures are stable, but I already have the black dragon magic bead. If I get another magical treasure, the benefits would not be significant. Moreover, not every magical treasure can be condensed into the body. Lu Changsheng thought for a moment before deciding to take a risk and draw a technique. He was really tired of this trashy returning to the origin technique. The whole day could only be spent relying on bitter cultivation with slow progress. He was waiting for a cultivation technique like the 100 treasure refinement body tempering technique that could take a shortcut. System, draw a cultivation technique. Lu Changsheng said immediately. In an instant, the roulette wheel in front of him changed. It was no longer a golden light rapidly rotating in 7 areas. Instead, the cultivation technique's golden light was bursting forth on the roulette wheel. Various divine patterns of cultivation techniques flashed by quickly. Lu Changsheng saw one cultivation technique after another. The Heavenly Star Technique, the True Saint's Sacred Technique, the Ascension Sutra, the Great Nurturing Heaven Demon Sutra, the 36 Styles of Muddy Water Battle Pills Technique. Wow, this has all kinds of cultivation techniques. If I get a demonic cultivation technique, should I practice it or not? Lu Changsheng's eyes were fixed on the rapidly changing patterns in front of him, thinking to himself. Finally, the roulette wheel stopped. A jade book with a pattern of 7 swords on the cover appeared in front of him, accompanied by a system prompt tone. Ding! Congratulations, host, you have obtained the 7 stars Great Freedom Sword Technique. Reward has been sent to the system space. Host can view at any time. The 7 stars Great Freedom Sword Technique? System has finally gotten it right for once. Lu Changsheng looked at the reward pattern in front of him, and his heart was immediately filled with excitement. Through the 2 words sword technique, Lu Changsheng knew that this was a qi refining cultivation technique he wanted. Because qi refining cultivation techniques were just a general term, and there were many types. Like the return to origin technique, a neutral and balanced basic cultivation technique. Or the wood element cultivation technique that was good for nurturing life. Or the wood fire cultivation technique that was good for alchemy and artifact refining. Or even poison cultivation techniques and demonic cultivation techniques, which were all part of qi refining cultivation techniques. And this cultivation technique had the word sword technique. Lu Changsheng knew it was a sword-based cultivation technique. According to Lu Changsheng's understanding, sword-based cultivation techniques generally lean towards killing and fighting. Lu Changsheng didn't mind and immediately looked towards the system space, viewing the specific information about the cultivation technique he had obtained. Cultivation Technique, 7 stars Great Freedom Sword Technique. Rank, Genuine Level. Description: the 7 stars sword sect's ultimate technique, absorbing the essence of the 7 stars, condensing the 7 stars sword energy, casting the 7 stars heart lamp, and forming the 7 stars sword array. A genuine level cultivation technique. This is great. Lu Changsheng saw the information about the 7 stars Great Freedom Sword Technique, and his heart was filled with excitement. Although the description was brief and didn't reveal much. But a genuine level cultivation technique was enough to satisfy Lu Changsheng. After all, with the 100 treasure refinement body tempering technique, Lu Changsheng had a certain understanding of genuine level cultivation techniques. The mysterious and majestic atmosphere of the cultivation technique was unparalleled. No matter what, it was far better than his current trashy return to origin technique. And he wouldn't have to worry about the subsequent cultivation techniques for the foundation establishment stage. Like his current return to origin technique, which could only be cultivated to the peak of qi refining and then stopped. System, transmit. Lu Changsheng didn't think twice, and his spirit stirred, using the 7 stars Great Freedom Sword Technique. Immediately. Regarding the cultivation methods and related content of the 7 stars Great Freedom Sword Technique, everything was poured into Lu Changsheng's mind like a sudden enlightenment. Lu Changsheng sat quietly, immersing his heart and soul in this profound sword scripture. After a long time, what a great 7 stars Great Freedom Sword Technique. It's no wonder it's a genuine level technique. It's indeed a masterpiece from the system. Lu Changsheng opened his eyes, revealing a look of surprise and delight. In just a short time, through the system's inheritance, he had already grasped the essence of the 7 stars Great Freedom Sword Technique. He understood the cultivation methods, related content, and all the key points. This 7 stars Great Freedom Sword Technique has 5 stages, corresponding to qi refining, foundation establishment, core formation, nascent soul, and divine transformation, 5 realms. In other words, this technique is enough to take him to the divine transformation realm. This technique is similar to the 100 treasure refinement body tempering technique. Not only does it have cultivation methods, but also corresponding spiritual techniques and special characteristics. For example, in the qi refining stage, there are 3 corresponding spiritual techniques: 7 stars sword light, 7 stars sword shield, and 7 stars sword escape. Attacking, defending, and escaping were all covered. Moreover, the 7 stars Great Freedom Sword Technique's 7 stars Sword Chi also has the characteristic of removing pill toxins. Most cultivators would take pills to aid their cultivation. However, these pills would have varying degrees of toxicity, not to mention the harm they cause to the body. Like the yellow dragon pill, if taken excessively, it would lead to pill resistance, making the pills ineffective or minimally effective. This is why Lu Changsheng, although he had spirit stones to buy pills to aid his cultivation, would not take them excessively. It's because of the pill toxins. But now, with the 7 stars Great Freedom Sword Technique, he can take pills without worrying about the toxins. However, removing pill toxins is not that simple. It requires time and effort to refine the toxins. And when refining the toxins, the physical body must endure the suffering of the sword chi. But this suffering is nothing compared to the benefits of taking pills without worrying about the toxins. Lu Changsheng's eyes sparkled. If he could take pills without worrying about the toxins, his cultivation speed would increase exponentially. Originally, he thought it would take 6 or 7 years to break through the 8th stage of qi refining. But now he could take pills without worrying about the toxins, greatly reducing his cultivation time. Moreover, each stage of the 7 stars Great Freedom Sword Technique has corresponding magical techniques and special characteristics. The second stage has the 7 stars Heart Lamp. The third stage has the 7 stars Stellar Sword and the 7 stars Sword Array. It's extremely powerful. What made Lu Changsheng even more delighted was that this 7 stars Great Freedom Sword Technique could be divided into multiple techniques. It could be split into the Sunshine Sword Technique, Moonlight Sword Technique, Golden Brilliance Sword Technique, Star of Years Wood Brilliance Sword Technique, Star of Chinwater Brilliance Sword Technique, Mars Fire Brilliance Sword Technique, Venus Earth Brilliance Sword Technique, Life and Death Sword Chapter of the Sun and Moon Duality, and the 5 Luminaries Stars Life and Death Sword Canon. The reason is simple: genuine level techniques are too difficult. Not only are they difficult to cultivate, but also difficult to comprehend. Only those with exceptional talent can cultivate this 7 stars Great Freedom Sword Technique. So, the 7 stars sword sect divided it into multiple techniques to make it easier for disciples to cultivate, allowing disciples to choose according to their spirit root attributes and technique characteristics. The genuine levels cultivation method is too difficult to comprehend, and it's extremely hard to cultivate. If I didn't have the system's inheritance, I wouldn't be able to comprehend it directly. If I had to rely on myself to comprehend and cultivate, it would be almost impossible. In the future, if the children start cultivating, even if I pass on this cultivation method to them, they will still find it very difficult to comprehend and cultivate. However, the divided profound level cultivation methods, such as the Sunshine Sword Technique, Moonlight Sword Technique, and Golden Brilliance Sword Technique, are relatively easier to comprehend. If the children have exceptional innate abilities, they can start cultivating from the Life and Death Sword Chapter of the Sun and Moon Duality. Lu Changsheng let out a sigh of relief. This was one aspect of the 7 stars Great Freedom Sword Technique that Lu Changsheng was extremely delighted with. Not only did it solve his own cultivation method problems, but it also solved the problem of the children's cultivation methods in the future. Although the children's cultivation was still a long way off, at least he didn't have to worry about it anymore. In the Spirit Talisman Shop, Lu Changsheng sat with his eyes closed, his face solemn and stern. Inside his dantian, the spiritual lake was churning and rolling, flowing slowly through his meridians and limbs. The originally pure white spiritual energy in the lake gradually took on a few colors. Moreover, 7 small sword silhouettes appeared and disappeared on the surface of the lake. Whoosh! Lu Changsheng opened his eyes and exhaled a turbid breath. The return to origin technique may be trash, but it's not entirely useless. Its spiritual energy is neutral and has no attributes, making it easy to convert to other techniques. If I were to cultivate another technique, it would be difficult to convert my spiritual energy to the 7 stars Great Freedom Sword Technique, and it might even cause my cultivation to regress. Lu Changsheng gazed inward at the spiritual energy in his dantian, thinking to himself. He had just attempted to convert his cultivation to the 7 stars Great Freedom Sword technique. He needed to convert the spiritual energy of the Return to Origin technique to the spiritual energy of the 7 stars Great Freedom Sword technique. He found the process to be surprisingly smooth. Although some spiritual energy would be lost, it wasn't a major issue. It'll take around 3 to 4 months for my spiritual energy to fully convert to the 7 stars spiritual energy. This 7 stars Great Freedom Sword technique is indeed a genuine level technique, and the spiritual energy it cultivates is not only 3 to 4 times thicker than my original spiritual energy, but also more overbearing and domineering. Once my spiritual energy is fully converted to the 7 stars spiritual energy, I'll be able to rival Qi refining 8th stage or even 9th stage cultivators. This is what they mean by a solid foundation, and when I break through to the foundation establishment stage, I'll be unstoppable. Lu Changsheng looked at the spiritual energy in the lake, unable to contain his excitement. He had initially wanted a good technique to solidify his foundation and make future progress easier. Now that he had obtained this genuine level technique, his foundation would be unshakable. Qi refining 7th stage is comparable to Qi refining 9th stage. Doesn't that mean I'll be able to challenge higher stages in the future? No, I've encountered many enemies who are stronger than me, and it's not just about cultivation level, but also about tactics. Lu Changsheng thought to himself, then shook his head. He suddenly felt that this situation wasn't suitable for a technique that leaned towards killing and fighting. On one hand, he had always been kind and didn't like to fight. On the other hand, he usually relied on external objects to fight, not his own cultivation level. In this situation, cultivating a technique that focused on nurturing life or escaping would be more suitable for him. However, since he had already obtained the technique and started cultivating, Lu Changsheng wouldn't dwell on it. Moreover, Lu Changsheng felt that techniques focused on nurturing life or escaping weren't necessarily suitable for him. As he progressed on his cultivation journey, conflicts and battles would be unavoidable. Currently, in the Qi refining stage, he could rely on the system's rewards to overcome his enemies. However, as his cultivation level increased, the help from external objects like talismans, puppets, and treasures would dwindle. He wouldn't be able to rely on them to overcome his enemies like he did now. At that time, his own cultivation would become crucial. Looking outside, the sky had darkened. Lu Changsheng stood up and walked out of the spirit talisman shop, heading home. And at this moment, above the wine shop opposite the Lu family spirit talisman shop, a beautiful young girl with a purple dress sat by the window, her face as lovely as a flower. Her white and tender arm supported her cheek, gazing out the window with a bored expression. When the girl saw Lu Changsheng come out of the spirit talisman shop, her eyes suddenly lit up. In order to let the love-locking goo recover quickly, I'm willing to pay any price. Don't let me down. The girl looked at Lu Changsheng's figure, murmuring to herself. Then, she raised her palm. And then, the girl's small, white palm opened and a blood-red, crystal-like goo insect about an inch long emerged. Little guy, it's your turn soon, the girl said to the love-locking goo. The goo insect seemed to understand the girl's words, nodding its small antennae. Seeing this, the girl also smiled, grasping her palm and walking out of the inn. Through her observations, she had already figured out Lu Changsheng's daily routine. It was basically between the spirit talisman shop and his residence, a straight line. And she had also staked out the area. She knew the street Lu Changsheng would take home, which was usually deserted. It was a good place to take action, a good opportunity. Taking action in the city would be risky, but at the same time, people in the city would be less vigilant, making it easier to succeed. If she chose to take action outside the city, she thought of Lu Changsheng's talisman treasures, his behavior of bombarding with stacks of talismans. It made her think of the time she was almost killed by Lu Changsheng's talisman treasures. But thinking about it, Lu Changsheng would be affected by the love-locking goo and would gradually fall in love with her, making her heart feel comfortable. What revenge could be better than making your former enemy fall deeply in love with you? The purple-dressed girl looked at Lu Changsheng's back, and a smile appeared on her beautiful face. When she saw Lu Changsheng enter the alley, and there was no one else around, the girl immediately called out, "Taoist Lu, please wait." Lu Changsheng heard someone calling him, and his footsteps paused. He turned around to see a beautiful, purple-dressed girl waving at him, walking quickly towards him. Did you call me, miss?" Lu Changsheng looked at the purple-dressed girl, somewhat surprised. "That's right, I heard that Taoist Lu is a talisman master, so I have a favor to ask of you." The purple-dressed girl smiled and said, walking quickly towards Lu Changsheng. "What is it?" Lu Changsheng heard this and was somewhat surprised. Although it was no secret that he was a talisman master, he didn't know this girl. A stranger suddenly asking for his help made him feel puzzled. The purple-dressed girl was about to speak, but a purple, eerie glow suddenly appeared in her eyes. It was as if her eyes were shining brightly, captivating Lu Changsheng's soul, making him feel dizzy for a moment. However, just as Lu Changsheng was about to fall into a trance, the cold jade spirit pendant on his chest emitted a clear, spiritual energy. This allowed him to quickly regain his senses. Not good. Lu Changsheng came back to his senses, immediately realizing that something was off. The purple-dressed girl in front of him was suspicious. The other party had just cast some kind of spell on him. He was about to activate the protective charm of his law robe and the cold jade pendant. However, at that instant, he felt a numb and piercing pain in his neck. It was as if something had bitten him, causing his spirit to tremble slightly. But in that instant, rumble. Lu Changsheng felt a powerful will erupting from the peach blossom goo between his eyebrows. This will was like a volcanic eruption overflowing like a river. It was like a majestic beast that was provoked and released its majesty. It suppressed his throbbing mind. The pink peach blossom mark that had been hidden in Lu Changsheng's forehead could not help but emerge automatically, with a bright pink light. Hiss! As the peach blossom goo's will erupted, a faint humming sound arose. Lu Changsheng immediately heard a faint, buzzing sound, and saw a small, entirely blood-red insect quickly flying away from his neck. Lu Changsheng saw this and immediately used his spiritual power to wrap his hand, grasping the small creature tightly. Like an eagle catching a rabbit, he directly grasped the small thing in his hand. Then, he took out a stack of talismans and looked at the purple-clothed girl in front of him. Hiss! The purple-skirted girl groaned at this moment. She looked at Lu Changsheng with disbelief, unaware of what was happening. The love-locking goo had somehow gone wrong. In that instant, she felt a powerful will emanating from the love-locking goo, causing her spirit to tremble. Seeing Lu Changsheng, the two of them locked eyes. Under this gaze, the purple-clothed girl's heart fluttered, feeling a special emotion rising in her heart, making her feel that the Lu Changsheng in front of her was extremely pleasing to the eye, and she unconsciously wanted to get close to him. What's going on? This emotion had just risen in her heart, and the purple-clothed girl realized something was amiss. She had a very clear understanding of herself. The Lu Changsheng in front of her was handsome and extraordinary, but was she someone who would be swayed by appearances? How could she possibly develop feelings for someone just because of their looks? Besides, she had been secretly observing Lu Changsheng for some time, and had never had such emotions before. Is the love-locking goo malfunctioning? Could it be that the goo insect is counterattacking? Seeing the pink peach blossom mark on Lu Changsheng's forehead, the purple-clothed girl suspected that something was amiss. Lu Changsheng must have some kind of extraordinary treasure, or a goo insect even more powerful and overbearing than the love-locking goo, causing her love-locking goo to fail and triggering a counterattack. This is impossible. The love-locking goo is already close to being a heavenly spirit goo. Even if it's severely injured and hasn't recovered, it shouldn't have a counterattack like this. How could he possibly have such a treasure, or a heavenly spirit goo, which is almost extinct? As soon as this guess emerged, the purple-clad girl's heart was like a stormy sea, filled with disbelief. She looked at Lu Changsheng in front of her and felt a sense of intimacy growing in her heart. This intimacy made her feel unprecedented terror. As the host of Love-Locking Goo, she was very clear about Love-Locking Goo's overbearing nature. Once someone was bitten by Love-Locking Goo, they would uncontrollably develop romantic feelings towards her. These romantic feelings would intensify with time and contact. Ultimately, the love would become irresistible, and they would even be willing to die for her. Now that the goo insect had counterattacked, love-locking goo's effects had reversed, falling onto herself, the host. So, from now on, she would uncontrollably develop romantic feelings towards Lu Changsheng in front of her, gradually falling deeply in love and even willing to die for him. Haha. Before she could think further, Lu Changsheng had already used a talisman and was driving the Qingyan sword to attack her. Even though dueling was forbidden in the city, Lu Changsheng couldn't just stand by and do nothing when the purple-clad girl attacked him. No way, I must leave quickly and get far away. I must escape the influence of love-locking goo. The girl saw the incoming attack and didn't dare think twice. She formed a protective aura around herself, took out several talismans, and used them to directly counter Lu Changsheng's attack. Then, with a muffled hum, she transformed into a residual shadow and quickly escaped. At this moment, she didn't dare think too much. She didn't even care about the love-locking goo she had obtained with great difficulty, which had fallen into Lu Changsheng's hands. She just wanted to leave quickly, while love-locking goo's effects had not yet influenced her mind. Get far away from Lu Changsheng's location. Otherwise, as time passed, the closer she got to him, the faster her romantic feelings would spread. By then, even if Lu Changsheng wanted to kill her, she would still be willing. Lu Changsheng saw the purple-clad girl transform into a residual shadow and disappear, and wanted to chase after her, but thought better of it. Her speed was too fast, and without using talismans, he couldn't catch up. Besides, they were in a busy street. There were people coming and going, and he couldn't take out a large number of talismans. Who is she, and why did she suddenly attack me? Lu Changsheng looked at the spot where the purple-clad girl had disappeared, feeling puzzled. He didn't know when he had offended her, and why she had attacked him. Could it be because of those stolen goods, and someone was watching me? Lu Changsheng thought to himself. But he felt it was unlikely. If someone was watching him, they wouldn't attack him in the city like that. Later, he looked at the small thing he had caught in his hand. It was a less than inch long, entirely blood-red insect. What is this? Insect? Goo insect? Lu Changsheng looked at the blood-red goo insect in his hand, which was trembling slightly, and frowned. Could it be that she was trying to poison me just now? He thought back to when he was bitten by the blood-red goo insect, and his heart had been stirred. Immediately after, the peach blossom goo on his forehead had burst forth with a strong will, suppressing the disturbance, and Lu Changsheng had a guess. After obtaining the peach blossom goo, Lu Changsheng had also read a lot of information about goo insects. He knew that goo insects were like demonic beasts. Their bloodline suppression was very severe. For example, the 9 Netherworld Hound, a heavenly demonic beast, had a bloodline suppression effect on ordinary demonic beasts. Ordinary demonic beasts, when facing the 9 Netherworld Hound, would have their battle strength reduced by 1/3 due to the pressure. Goo insect was no exception. In fact, it was even more severe. He had the peach blossom goo, a heavenly spirit goo, which could immunize him against many goo insect effects. If other goo insects were to infect him, it would be equivalent to provoking the peach blossom goo, triggering its instinctive resistance. Earlier, the peach blossom goo had sensed this situation. Just then, the peach blossom goo in his eyebrow transmitted a faint wave, indicating that he had just received a wave of romantic luck. Romantic luck? This is great. Where did this romantic luck come from? Lu Changsheng furrowed his brow, feeling puzzled. He couldn't understand how this romantic luck had occurred. Wait, could this romantic luck be related to that purple-clothed girl? Lu Changsheng thought back to the purple-clothed girl who had escaped earlier. But how did I get romantic luck with her? The peach blossom goo has received romantic luck, indicating that I have a peach blossom relationship with her. But I've only just met her. How did this happen? Lu Changsheng was completely baffled at this moment. He couldn't understand the situation with the purple-clothed girl and this romantic luck. Wait, I remember reading about a goo insect called the love insect in a book. This love insect is a type of mother-child goo, where the mother goo can implant the child goo into someone, making them fall in love with the owner and unable to leave them for life. Could it be that this goo insect is the love insect I read about in ancient texts? Did the purple-clothed girl try to infect me with the love insect, but because of the peach blossom goo, I didn't fall in love with her and instead, she fell in love with me? Lu Changsheng looked at the blood-colored goo insect in his hand, his eyes narrowing as he made a guess. Although this guess was far-fetched. But Lu Changsheng could only think of this possibility. It was a forced explanation, but he couldn't think of anything else. If that's the case, it's too ridiculous. Lu Changsheng shook his head, feeling that if this were true, the peach blossom goo's romantic luck was too overbearing. It was like being forced into a situation. He hadn't even seen the girl before, and yet he had received romantic luck. But the love insect shouldn't be like this, right? The love insect is a type of mother-child goo, where the host has the mother goo, and the target needs to be implanted with the child goo. Only then will the target fall in love with the host and be unable to leave them. This goo insect bit me, and under the peach blossom goo's will, it immediately wanted to escape, which doesn't match the description of the love insect. Or perhaps this is a goo insect similar to the love insect? Lu Changsheng looked at the blood-colored goo insect in his hand, feeling that it didn't quite match the description of the love insect he had read about. Whatever, I'm too lazy to think about it. Lu Changsheng was too lazy to continue thinking about it. He touched the wound on his neck. There was only a small wound, which had almost healed. In his heart, he thought that this blood-colored goo insect was quite formidable. To think that he had cultivated the 100-treasure refinement body tempering technique, making his physical body comparable to magical weapons. Yet, this blood-colored goo insect had managed to break through his defenses with just one bite. However, this peach blossom goo is really difficult to handle. It's good, but every time it's a bit mysterious. And if things go wrong, it might lead to a catastrophe, becoming a peach blossom calamity. Lu Changsheng felt a bit frustrated about this unpredictable romantic luck. Every time there was romantic luck, it would be accompanied by unexpected events. Especially the first time, when he directly got a core formation sister. If he had made a slight mistake back then, it would have led to a peach blossom calamity. But he couldn't bear to give up the peach blossom goo. At least the benefits of the peach blossom goo outweigh its drawbacks. Not only does it bring romantic luck, but it also makes me immune to the effects of most goo insects. Otherwise, situations like this would be dangerous. Really, if I were to be infatuated with someone, that would be a disaster. Lu Changsheng muttered to himself. The methods of cultivators are truly unpredictable, making it difficult for people to guard against them. I should be more careful and vigilant in the future. Although the city prohibits private dueling, it doesn't mean there's no danger. Lu Changsheng took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. Thinking back to the situation earlier, he realized he had indeed been too careless, leading to some passivity. But how should I handle this thing? Lu Changsheng looked at the blood-colored goo insect in his hand. He suddenly thought about how to deal with this goo insect. According to my guess, this should be a goo insect of the love goo type. That purple-clothed woman from earlier was bitten by this goo insect, which led to her developing romantic feelings for me and giving me a wave of romantic luck. Generally speaking, if a goo insect dies, its effects will also disappear. So this goo insect cannot be killed. Not only can it be killed, but it must be well taken care of, and only then will I have the opportunity to take revenge in the future. Lu Changsheng looked at the wilted blood-red goo insect in his hand, thinking to himself. That purple-clothed woman had inexplicably attacked him, using a goo insect to harm him. If he didn't have the peach blossom goo by his side, he might have fallen for it and become her lapdog. How could he let such a great grudge go so easily? He must take revenge. If he killed this goo insect now, making the effects on the woman disappear, wouldn't that be equivalent to letting her off the hook? So he decided to take good care of this goo insect. As long as he had this goo insect in hand, he would have an additional means of control when he met her again in the future. Speaking of which, can I refine this goo insect and use it for myself? Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed as he suddenly thought of this. Based on the situation just now, he could clearly feel that this goo insect was not ordinary. It wasn't a normal goo insect. If he could refine it, he might be able to explore its effects and use it for himself. This is not something that can be attempted lightly. I'll take a look at the goo insect's documentation later and see if I can find any information about this insect. After all, goo insects are not something to be trifled with. They're fierce and difficult to tame, and extremely difficult to refine. Back then, I was able to refine the peach blossom goo because it was extracted from the system. This goo insect is not simple, and now that it has a master, if I try to refine and tame it, one misstep could lead to problems or even counterattacks. Lu Changsheng immediately dispelled the idea of refining this goo insect. He didn't even know what kind of goo insect this was or what its situation was. If he rashly tried to refine it, unexpected accidents might occur. After all, refining the peach blossom goo had taught him that refining a goo insect was extremely difficult. Back then, if the peach blossom goo hadn't been extracted from the system and hadn't actively cooperated with him, he wouldn't have been able to refine it. This goo insect, although not as extraordinary as the peach blossom goo, was still clearly not ordinary. Refining it would definitely not be easy. Immediately, Lu Changsheng took out a jade box from his storage bag. He placed the wilted blood-red goo insect inside, and then stuck a sealing talisman on top to prevent the goo insect from escaping. Then, he found a magical weapons shop. He spent 30 spirit stones to buy a special goo insect container. And he spent 50 spirit stones to buy a spirit pet bag. The storage bag cannot hold living creatures. Even with the goo insect container, this blood-colored goo insect can only be placed in the spirit pet bag and cannot be placed in the storage bag. And the only spirit pet bag he had was the one given to him by the Lu family to hold the steel-feathered eagle. So he bought one himself. In the future, it can also be used to hold the 9 netherworld hound. Moreover, for demonic beasts and goo insects of different species, it's best not to put them together. Otherwise, unexpected things might happen. Lu Changsheng didn't dare to put the blood-colored goo insect and the steel-feathered eagle together. After finishing all this, Lu Changsheng returned home. At the same time, a purple-dressed girl hastily left Jiolong Market. What's going on? How could he possibly have such a rare treasure, a heavenly spirit goo insect of this level? At this moment, Meng Xiaochan still couldn't believe everything that had just happened. It felt like a dream. If it weren't for the love-locking goo not being in her hand, and the lingering emotions in her heart, she would really think she was dreaming. She couldn't believe that the love-locking goo she had worked so hard to get had been lost. Not only was the love-locking goo lost, but she had also been counterattacked by the goo insect and had fallen into a trap. Damn it. I must kill him and take back the love-locking goo. Otherwise, no matter how far I run, the love-locking goo will still affect me. Meng Xiaochan gritted her teeth, her eyes filled with hatred. However, as soon as she had this thought, her heart suddenly felt a pang of pain. The image of Lu Changsheng's handsome face appeared in her mind, making her feel a sense of intimacy. She felt that she couldn't have such a thought, and how could she harm him? Hee. This love-locking goo is too terrifying, too overbearing. Meng Xiaochan covered her chest, which was in pain, and took a few deep breaths. After a while, she used a secret technique to calm her mind and spirit, and a determined look appeared in her eyes. No, I can't think about him anymore. Otherwise, the love-locking goo will continue to influence me, and its influence will only grow stronger. I must hurry up and break through to the foundation establishment stage. Only then will I have a chance to escape the influence of the love-locking goo and restrict it. The Purple Mist secret realm is about to open, and if I can gain something from it, I'll have a 70% chance of succeeding in foundation establishment. Meng Xiaochan didn't dare to think anymore. She took out a flying leaf magical weapon from her storage bag, turned into a stream of light, and quickly left. Lu Changsheng returned home as usual. He didn't pay much attention to the purple-dressed girl's affairs. This matter was too mysterious and confusing for him. He had no idea what was going on. After chatting with his wives and concubines and finishing dinner, He went to sleep accompanied by his 3 wives. The next day, Lu Changsheng came to the Ink Cloud Pavilion. This was a bookstore where he often bought books. The store mainly sold cultivation methods and techniques. In addition to the matters of the cultivation world, there are also books on strange events, geography, and human emotions. Lu Changsheng and the shopkeeper negotiated the price of a few books about Guan sect. 9 spirit stones, a fair price, said the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper handed Lu Changsheng 3 books. Lu Changsheng didn't haggle over the price. In the cultivation world, knowledge is tightly controlled, so books are always expensive. These are just ordinary books. Some techniques, like spells and martial arts, can cost tens or even hundreds of spirit stones. He had also inquired about the price of the second-level inheritance of the 100 arts. The other party said it depends on the specific skill. Moreover, the second-level inheritance also has its good and bad points, and the price needs to be estimated according to the situation. Through several casual conversations, Lu Changsheng had a rough estimate of the value of the second-level beast-taming inheritance he had obtained. That inheritance could be sold for around 1,000 spirit stones. However, if he wanted to sell it, he would need to sign a contract and make a vow, promising not to sell or reveal any related information. Since he wasn't in dire need of money, Lu Changsheng didn't plan to sell the second-grade beast-taming inheritance. He put away the 3 books and returned to the spirit talisman shop, then began to read. It took him an entire morning to finish reading the 3 books. It seems that the blood-colored Guan sect is even rarer than I imagined. Lu Changsheng put down the book and let out a soft sigh. The 3 books introduced a lot of knowledge about Guan sects. They also introduced many common Guan sects. But he didn't see any information related to the blood-colored Guan sect. This is within my expectations. That blood-colored Guan sect doesn't seem like an ordinary Guan sect. The Guan sects introduced in these 3 books are mostly ordinary Gu and spirit Gu. That blood-colored Guan sect is probably a mystic spirit Gu or even an earth spirit Gu. Lu Changsheng thought to himself. As for the heavenly spirit Gu, he didn't think it was likely, because his peach blossom Gu was a heavenly spirit Gu. If the blood-colored Guan sect was a heavenly spirit Gu, it wouldn't have caused the backlash. Through his recent reading, he also knew that Gu insect backlash was extremely rare. Only when the Gu insects differ by 1 rank, and there is a certain difference in strength, will it appear. His peach blossom Gu, although a heavenly spirit Gu, wasn't very powerful. It was only at the first transformation peak. It could only break through to the second transformation after he, the master, broke through the foundation establishment stage. So Lu Changsheng guessed that the blood-colored Guan sect was at most an earth spirit Gu. Thinking of this, Lu Changsheng took out the Guan sect jar from his spirit pet bag. He opened the lid and looked at the blood-colored Guan sect inside. It was still in a weak and listless state. Will this thing starve to death if I just leave it like this? Lu Changsheng looked at the blood-colored Gu insect's half-dead appearance and slightly furrowed his brow. After all, Gu insects also need to eat. Like the peach blossom Gu, which was quite special and fed on romantic luck. So he didn't need to feed it normally. But the Gu insect in front of him didn't know what to eat either. If it starved to death, that would be quite embarrassing. After some thought, Lu Changsheng tried the most straightforward method. He took out various spiritual foods from his storage bag and put them in the Gu container to see if it would eat. After multiple attempts, Lu Changsheng saw that the Gu insect would eat a type of blood spirit liquid. Okay. Seeing that the Gu insect could eat, Lu Changsheng also felt relieved. He let it eat a drop and then put the blood spirit liquid away. He planned to give it a drop or 2 every few days, letting it maintain a state of being on the verge of death, half dead and half alive. What if it grew too well and escaped? Before he knew it, half a month had passed. On this day, Lu Changsheng received a notification from the White Jade Tower. They said that a batch of exclusive servant girls had arrived and asked if Lu Changsheng was interested. If he was interested, he could go take a look. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng immediately went to the White Jade Tower. He wanted to see what kind of exclusive servant girls they had. But after taking a look, Lu Changsheng directly bid farewell to Feng Jianyang. These servant girls were indeed not bad. Their appearances and figures were all top-notch. Not only did they possess spirit root qualifications, but they had also cultivated a certain dual cultivation method, which would aid in their cultivation and even help them break through boundaries. But the prices were too expensive. Even the cheapest ones cost at least 1,000 spirit stones. It was simply a few thousand spirit stones. Faced with such prices, Lu Changsheng could only bid farewell. Sigh, I'm still too poor, it seems. This white jade tower is currently not something I can afford at this stage. After leaving the white jade tower, Lu Changsheng couldn't help but shake his head. At the white jade tower, he could still afford ordinary servant girls. But these servant girls with spirit root qualifications, who had reached a certain stage, were beyond his means, and his daily income couldn't support such expenses. However, I already have enough wives and servant girls, and there's no need to buy more for now. I've already spent a lot of money on wives and servant girls. The daily expenses for this aspect are also quite high. If I were to spend more money on this, it would affect my own living expenses. Moreover, I'll be heading back to Qingju Mountain soon, and there's no need to add more servant girls. The courtyard at Jiolong Market is already overcrowded. Lu Changsheng walked on the street, thinking to himself. He had come here to take a look, thinking that if there were suitable and affordable servant girls, he could add one or two. If not, then there was no need. After all, the income from the Lu family, as well as his own income from selling talismans to Hong Yi, added up to only 200 to 300 spirit stones per month. Compared to before, it was a huge sum, but still. However, with so many wives and children, their daily expenses on spirit rice, spiritual vegetables, spiritual tea, and demonic beast meat are not small. Lu Changsheng had calculated that these expenses alone would cost around 70 to 80 spirit stones per month. He would occasionally buy small gifts for his wives and children, which also cost a significant amount of money. Adding to that, he needed to purchase pills for his cultivation and other miscellaneous expenses, which further depleted his spirit stones. So, he didn't have much savings. For example, the second-grade puppet he had crafted still hadn't been equipped with a medium-grade spirit stone. This was because he couldn't afford to save up enough money. However, now that I've revealed my top-grade talisman skills, once I can stably provide top-grade talismans, my income will increase significantly. Lu Changsheng let out a sigh. Although he was now known as a top-grade talisman master, his talisman creation rate was still slow and couldn't be rushed. So, for now, the talismans he created, as well as the Lu family tasks, were mostly medium-grade. Once he could stably produce top-grade talismans, his income would increase significantly. Moreover, for me, the current priority is to enhance my cultivation. With the 7 Stars Great Freedom Sword technique, once I've fully converted my spiritual power to 7-star spiritual power, I'll be able to take pills without any restrictions. I'll be able to increase my cultivation speed. As long as my cultivation increases, not only will my income increase, but it will also be easier to find wives and concubines. Lu Changsheng thought to himself. He planned to focus his energy on cultivation from now on. As long as his cultivation increased, he wouldn't have to worry about having few wives and concubines. After all, in this world, cultivation was the key to success. As long as one had the power, any fairy, goddess, demoness, or princess would not be a problem. Half a month later. Inside the spiritual talisman shop, Lu Changsheng was creating talismans. He heard Zhang Shan say that Lu Miaoga had arrived. He immediately went downstairs to welcome her. Changxing. Lu Miaoga smiled and nodded when she saw Lu Changsheng. She was still wearing a white dress, her face as clear as snow, her hair lightly curled and scattered over her shoulders, exuding an elegant and refined aura. Sister Miaoga, you're here. I'm troubling you this time, Lu Changsheng said to Lu Miaoga in a familiar tone. Later, he accompanied Lu Miaoga to the third floor, poured her a cup of spiritual tea, and handed it to her. It's no trouble, I'm not busy these days. Lu Miaoga gently shook her head, her voice clear and gentle. It's still troubling you. But if you have anything to attend to, Sister Miaoga, feel free to leave, and I'll come over. There's nothing important to do when I go back this time. I can come over at any time, Lu Changsheng said. He was preparing to head back, mainly to focus on his cultivation and spend more time with his wives and children. It didn't mean he wouldn't come back after he left. As for the income of this spiritual talisman shop, he didn't care much about it. However, it would be inconvenient for him to return to Qingju Mountain. He would need to come to Jiolong Market to buy or handle some things. Okay, good. Lu Miaoga nodded lightly. Then she smiled and said, by the way, congratulations on becoming a top-grade talisman master. It's just luck, and I couldn't compare to you, Sister Miaoga. I also owe it to your guidance back then. Lu Changsheng laughed and said. Back when he and Lu Miaoga were at the spiritual talisman shop, she would occasionally check on his progress, teaching him how to draw talismans. Although he didn't use it, it was still her kind intention. Mentioning this now also helped to build their relationship, and it had been a while since they last met. When are you planning to return to Qingyu Mountain? Lu Miaoga asked with a slight smile. I'll be going back with the second elder, Lu Changsheng replied. Since second elder was going, he naturally wanted to hitch a ride. He would also bring Lu Zier, Lu Qinger, and Xiaoqing back with him. The other servants would stay in Jiolong Market for now. The house was rented for 5 years, and he would need to come back anyway. Leaving the servants here would also give him an excuse to return to Jiolong Market. Okay, I'll stay here for now, Lu Miaoga said. You can let me know when you're about to leave, and I'll come to see you off. Lu Miaoga nodded slightly. The two of them chatted for a while, discussing Lu Miaoyang's matters and topics related to talismans. After chatting for a bit, Lu Changsheng suggested going to Jade Feast Pavilion for a meal. When they arrived at Jade Feast Pavilion, Lu Changsheng saw Yu Miaoqing and greeted him. He mentioned that he would be returning to Qingju Mountain soon. If anything happened, he could send a letter to Qingyu Mountain. Although it was unlikely that anything would happen, he wasn't going to disappear forever. But since they had known each other for so long, it was only polite to say goodbye. After returning home, he also said goodbye to Gao He. As for Xiaolong, he wasn't at home. He remembered seeing him 3 or 4 months ago. He couldn't help but worry that his neighbor might have encountered some accident. Half a month passed quickly. On this day, second elder sent someone to the spiritual talisman shop to inform Lu Changsheng about returning to Qingju Mountain. Lu Changsheng asked how many seats were available on second elder's flying boat. The other party told him there were 3 seats. Only 3 seats? Lu Changsheng raised an eyebrow upon hearing this. He was planning to bring Lu Zier, Lu Qinger, and Xiaoqing back with him. With only 3 seats, he could only let the 3 girls take the flying boat, and he would have to ride the steel-feathered eagle. Changxing, if you have many wives and servants, you can ask for a spiritual boat to send you back, Lu Miaoga said, seeing Lu Changxing's expression. She knew that Lu Changxing was preparing to return, to accompany his wives and children, and to rest. In this situation, it was natural to bring his wives and servants back with him. Oh, is there such a thing in the market? Lu Changxing was surprised to hear this. He had been in Jiolong Market for so long, but he didn't know that he could hire a spirit boat to send people. If that was the case, he couldn't help but think of bringing Guan Xian, Yu Yao, Xiao Yu Yao, Xiao Yueru, Yun Qianxian, and the 5 children back to Qingju Mountain. After all, in the following days, he planned to stay in Qingyu Mountain for a long time, to cultivate in peace and to accompany his wives. It would be better to leave the wives and children in Qingyu Mountain. Although the Lu family's ancestral matters had made the Lu family's situation unfavorable, at least they didn't have to worry too much for the next few years. The Spirit Boat Pavilion in the market is a business that specializes in transporting cultivators, and they often communicate with other markets. You can directly charter a spirit boat to Qingyu Mountain, but I'm not too clear about the price. Lu Miaoga's face was clear and elegant, and her voice was warm and gentle. Okay, thank you, Sister Miaoga. I'll go ask the Spirit Boat Pavilion, Lu Changsheng said, and immediately went out to the Spirit Boat Pavilion. He knew the Spirit Boat Pavilion, which not only sold flying boats, but also spirit boats. There were 7 or 8 large spirit boats, specially designed to transport cultivators and goods. They did business with other markets and powers, exchanging goods and services. But he didn't expect that they could also charter a boat. Lu Changsheng went out and arrived at the Spirit Boat Pavilion. He inquired about the price of chartering a spirit boat to Qingyu Mountain. After asking about the number of people, the person in charge of the Spirit Boat Pavilion told Lu Changsheng that it would cost 160 spirit stones. Hearing this price, Lu Changsheng's first reaction was that it was expensive. He wanted to negotiate the price. But the other party directly refused to negotiate. They said that this charter would include sending people to escort them, ensuring their safety. Hearing this, Lu Changsheng nodded. He paid a deposit of 50 spirit stones and booked a spirit boat. It would depart in 3 days, directly to Qingyu Mountain. 3 days later, Lu Changsheng bid farewell to Lu Miaoga and boarded the Spirit Boat Pavilion's spirit boat, accompanied by his numerous wives and children, to return to Qingyu Mountain. This spirit boat was a small, high-speed flying boat that could seat 15 people. Apart from Lu Changsheng and his wives and children, the Spirit Boat Pavilion had also arranged for a cultivator to control the spirit boat and 2 qi refining cultivators to provide protection. This made Lu Changsheng nod in approval, thinking that the 160 spirit stones spent were worth it. Moreover, with the Spirit Boat Pavilion's reputation, it was unlikely that anyone would dare to attack their flying boat. A day and a half later, the spirit boat landed safely on Qingyu Mountain. Let's go. Lu Changsheng led his wives and children off the spirit boat and entered Qingyu Mountain. If he had brought so many wives and children back to Qingyu Mountain in the past, it would have been a big deal. But now, as a top-grade talisman master, his benefits and status have increased. So, bringing a few wives and children back was no longer an issue. However, he still needed to register and report to the authorities. Later, Lu Changsheng led his wives to Qingyu Mountain Manor and reported to Uncle Fu. Uncle Fu looked at Lu Changsheng, who was accompanied by 8 women, each holding a child, and was at a loss for words. He recalled the scene from a few years ago when Lu Changsheng had brought back Chu Zhenjin and 2 foreign women. But he couldn't say anything about it. After all, Lu Changsheng had never neglected his duties. He had recently been promoted to a top-grade talisman master, and his status in the Lu family was now higher than Uncle Fu's. So, it was impossible for Uncle Fu to say anything. In the end, he only praised Lu Changsheng, saying that he was young and strong, but should still take care of his body. As the saying goes, youth is unaware of the value of health and only regrets it when old. Lu Changsheng knew that Uncle Fu was reminding him out of kindness. He smiled and nodded, indicating that he understood. Then, he led his wives back to his residence in Qingyu Valley. When Lu Changsheng brought his wives and children back home, the news spread quickly throughout the Lu family, causing many to gossip. Lu Changsheng brought back 3 children last time, and now he's brought back 5. Are these all Changsheng's concubines' children from outside? I heard that Lu Changsheng has dozens of concubines outside, and it seems it's not just a rumor. Changsheng's wives and concubines, if we count them all, should be over 20, right? That's an understatement. The scope is too small. Just in Qingyu Mountain, there are already 20. You can tell that Changsheng really likes having children. By the way, Changsheng brought back so many wives this time. Isn't he supposed to be managing a shop in Jiolong Market? I heard that Changsheng became a top-grade talisman master not long ago, so this time he's back to focus on his talisman cultivation. What? Lu Changsheng has become a top-grade talisman master. Wow, top-grade talisman master. How did Changsheng manage to become one so quickly? It's unbelievable. He's so busy with his wives and children. How can he still focus on his talisman cultivation? Brother Chung took me to Chunminlu for 3 days. During that time, my hands kept shaking and my concentration dropped. Maybe it's because of his talent. The Lu family disciples were discussing this in a flurry. Many of them knew that Lu Changsheng had achieved this feat and even advanced to a top-grade talisman master, which filled them with envy and admiration. It even refreshed their perspectives. After all, the Lu family had taught them from a young age that everything else was inferior and only cultivating immortality was superior. Strive to cultivate, make contributions to the family. Only by focusing on the Tao, without distractions, can one achieve success in cultivation. Now, seeing Lu Changsheng, who had taken a completely different path, yet was still leading the way in talisman Tao, made them wonder if their own efforts were meaningful and worthwhile. The immortal seedling who had come to the Lu family with Lu Changsheng couldn't help but sigh when hearing this. It felt like a fantasy beyond imagination. The next day, Patriarch Lu Yuanding came to talk to Lu Changsheng. In their conversation, Lu Yuanding indicated that Lu Changsheng taking wives and concubines was not a problem. Bringing them back was also not a problem. But he hoped that Lu Changsheng would not bring back so many concubines and children in the future. Or, when he came back, he should be more low-key. Otherwise, it would have a bad influence. Facing this conversation, Lu Changsheng naturally nodded in agreement. He indicated that he had come back this time to accompany his wives and focus on cultivating talismans. So, he had brought back a few more concubines and children, but it wouldn't happen again. All right, you're aware of your own actions, that's enough. Seeing Lu Changsheng say this, Lu Yuanding didn't continue to say anything. After all, this was not a big deal. It's just that Lu Changsheng's behavior had some influence on the atmosphere of Qingzhou Mountain. So, he came to remind him. Otherwise, Lu Changsheng, who had already become a top-grade talisman master, wouldn't be causing problems in taking wives and having children. Moreover, he had said it himself before. Taking wives and concubines was Lu Changsheng's freedom, and the Lu family wouldn't interfere. Is Lu Changsheng really going to take 100 wives and have several hundred children as he said before? Lu Yuanding thought to himself after leaving Lu Changsheng's residence. When he first heard this, he thought it was just an exaggeration. But now he felt that Lu Changsheng was really putting it into action, proving that his words were not empty. Thinking of Lu Changsheng's speed in taking wives and having children, Lu Yuanding's mouth twitched slightly. He suddenly felt grateful that his daughter, second daughter, hadn't married Lu Changsheng. Otherwise, she would probably be pregnant with her third child by now. After returning to Qingzhou Mountain, Lu Changsheng lived a simple life, and he rarely went out. Every day was spent cultivating, crafting talismans, and accompanying his wives and children. Occasionally, he would chat with Li Feiyu, watching him teach the children martial arts. However, the children were still young, and this stage was just the foundation of martial arts training. They hadn't truly started practicing martial arts yet. They would have to wait until they were around 11 or 12 years old, when their bodies were more developed. Before long, more than a month had passed. During this time, Jiang Luwei and Yu Yao gave birth to their children. Among them, Jiang Luoyue's child had a spirit root, but only a 9th-grade spirit root. Lu Changsheng's children were growing at a slower rate compared to last year, but were still increasing in an orderly manner. Just a few days ago, the 63rd child had become pregnant. Today was also the day of the Lu family spirit root testing ceremony. Lu Changsheng had 5 children participating in this spirit root testing ceremony. Through the detection, the situation of the 5 children was as he had known. Only Lu Xianxia, the 7th child, was detected with a spirit root. The quality of the spirit root was also as he had guessed. A 9th-grade spirit root, biased towards wood. Although it was the lowest 9th-grade spirit root, it still made his mother, Lu Yuzhu, extremely happy. It made Lu Changsheng's other wives and concubines envious. After all, having a spirit root, no matter how poor, was still a spirit root, and in the future, they could cultivate to become immortals. From then on, they would be different from ordinary people, with different fates, and would be on different paths. Considering the feelings of his other wives and children, Lu Changsheng didn't make a big fuss about it. He treated it as a normal test. As for Lu Xianji's cultivation, there was no need to rush for now. He was still too young, only 6 years old. His body had not fully developed. Starting cultivation too early was not a good thing. In the cultivation world, it was common for children to start learning at the age of 12. However, at this stage, they could start building a foundation, using heavenly materials and earthly treasures to nourish his body and lay a solid foundation, which would help him win at the starting line in the future. Lu Changsheng was not stingy. Every month, he would take out 10 spirit stones to buy foundation-building pills for Lu Xianji to supplement his body and lay a solid foundation. After all, he was the first child to have a spirit root. Even if the spirit root was only 9th grade, Lu Changsheng was willing to cultivate him well. Moreover, when Lu Xianji started cultivating, his own cultivation would also increase. It was equivalent to spending money on himself. No wonder ordinary cultivators don't want to get married and have children. If the child has a spirit root, they have to be cultivated. And this cultivation, even if it's just casual, would cost a lot of spirit stones every month, and it's not a small amount from childhood to adulthood. Lu Changsheng couldn't help but sigh. Like Lu Ping'an and others who practiced martial arts, it didn't cost much money. Every day, they would eat spirit rice and spiritual food, which was enough to make them become martial arts prodigies. But Lu Xianji was different. Thinking about his 7 children who had spirit roots and the 6 who would be detected later, he would have to spend money to cultivate them, laying a solid foundation. This would be equivalent to an additional 70 spirit stones in expenses every month. And as the number of children with spirit roots increased, the expenses would continue to rise. Indeed, raising children is not easy no matter where you are. The more you have, the harder it is to raise them. Lu Changsheng shook his head and sighed. If he were an ordinary talisman master, even a top-grade talisman master, he wouldn't dare to have so many children. Because learning a skill not only required initial investment, but also continuous expenses to practice and improve the talisman rate. It was impossible to be like him without worrying about extra expenses. However, the more children, the better, and I won't need others to support me in my old age. When the children grow up, I'll be at ease. Lu Changsheng comforted himself. Late at night, after the event. Husband, do you think Chuanjin, Yuzhin, and Miaozhen have spirit roots? Chu Zhenjin leaned lazily in Lu Changsheng's arms and asked with watery eyes. Today, Lu Xianji was detected with a spirit root, which made her think of her 3 children. Regardless of whether they have a spirit root or not, they are all our children. Lu Changsheng's hand gently slid across the white and tender skin. Chu Zhenjin had given birth to 3 children for him, 2 of whom possessed a spirit root. However, he didn't want his wives to focus too much on the children's spirit roots. After all, he had suffered a lot because of this in the past. In the end, he had many children, and most of them didn't have a spirit root. As a result, he gradually let go and became more open-minded. Someone like Chu Zhenjin, if she thought too much, would worry all day. Upon hearing Lu Changsheng's words, Chu Zhenjin hugged him and nodded gently. She didn't have high expectations for cultivation. Whether the children had a spirit root or not wasn't a big deal to her. She just wanted to live a simple life with the person she loved. It was just that she thought Lu Changsheng would prefer children with a spirit root. After all, Lu Changsheng had been promoting the idea of having many children, hoping to have a few with good spirit root qualifications and then cultivate them well. Now that she heard Lu Changsheng say this, she felt much more at ease. Before long, another month had passed. On this day, in the practice room, whoosh! Lu Changsheng opened his eyes and let out a gentle breath. His entire body was filled with a fierce aura, with 7 sword energies surrounding him, manifesting both internally and externally, fierce and majestic. I finally succeeded. Lu Changsheng looked inward at his dantian. He saw that the spiritual energy in his dantian had transformed into a 7-colored aura. This represented that his original cultivation method, the return to origin technique, had completely transformed into the 7 stars Great Freedom Sword technique. The 7 Stars Great Freedom Sword technique, although more difficult to practice than the Return to Origin technique, requires a much larger amount of spiritual energy to cultivate. The cultivation method can be divided into 2 parts. One part is to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, which helps to increase spiritual power. The other part is the heart of the technique, which is the understanding of the mysteries of the cultivation method. The 7 Stars Great Freedom Sword technique was obtained through the system, which allowed me to skip the second part. I didn't need to spend time comprehending the mysteries of the technique, and I could cultivate at the fastest speed. This also means that I can cultivate the 7 Stars Great Freedom Sword technique, a genuine level technique, at a speed that's not slower than the Return to Origin technique, and might even be faster. Lu Changsheng's sword energy converged, his breathing stabilized, and his eyes shone brightly. Although the 7 Stars Great Freedom Sword technique was difficult to practice, for someone like Lu Changsheng, it was even easier than the Return to Origin technique. Because this sword technique was equivalent to being engraved in his mind. He had a thorough understanding of it, and his cultivation would not have any mistakes. Now, my spiritual power has all transformed into 7 Star spiritual power, and I can start using the 7 Star sword energy to remove the poison of the pill and take it without any worries. By taking the pill and cultivating, I'm afraid it will only take 2 to 3 years for me to reach the peak of the Qi refining 7th stage. And this situation won't affect my foundation. Moreover, with the powerful 7 Star spiritual power, breaking through to the Qi refining 8th stage will be even simpler for me. Lu Changsheng chuckled. He was full of praise for the 7 Stars Great Freedom Sword technique. He finally understood why this technique could occupy a prominent position in the cultivation world. The advantages of a high-level technique were not something that could be explained in a few words. After completing the transformation to the 7 Stars Great Freedom Sword technique, Lu Changsheng didn't continue to cultivate. Instead, he went out to relax, chatted with his wives, and played with his children. After all, he wasn't someone who was obsessed with cultivation. Night fell. While eating, Lu Changsheng learned about something. The Purple Mist secret realm was about to open. A core high-stage expert from the Lu family, accompanied by several elite young disciples, would be heading to the Purple Mist secret realm. Lu Changsheng had heard of this Purple Mist secret realm, but wasn't too clear about it. It wasn't until Xiao Yueru explained it to him that he understood what the Purple Mist secret realm was about. This was a secret realm jointly controlled by several major immortal sects in the Jiang country. It could also be considered a spirit vein-blessed land. Inside, there were many opportunities and treasures. Every 10 years, the major immortal sects would open the secret realm and send their disciples to explore and train. Besides the immortal sect's own disciples, they would also allow young talents from other families and rogue cultivators to enter. Because as long as they entered the secret realm and gained something valuable, they would have to go through the major immortal sect's hands when they came out. In this case, the major immortal sects would naturally be happy to let more rogue cultivators enter. Other rogue cultivators and young talents from families would still rush to the Purple Mist secret realm, even if they knew the risks. Because, besides the opportunities and treasures, there was also the main material for refining foundation establishment pills. Moreover, if they obtained rare opportunities and precious treasures inside, they could exchange them for foundation establishment pills with the major immortal sects. Hearing this, Lu Changsheng immediately understood. The Lu family was going to the Purple Mist secret realm for the foundation establishment pills. After all, the Lu family's current situation was not optimistic. They urgently needed a new foundation establishment grandmaster to emerge. If they could obtain a foundation establishment pill, and with the Lu family's strength, they could collect a few foundation establishment spiritual objects. Who knows? The Lu family might be able to give birth to a new foundation establishment grandmaster. Will the elder lady also be going to the Purple Mist secret realm? Lu Changsheng couldn't help but ask. Lu Miaoge had a Qi refining 7th stage cultivation and was considered one of the young elites of the Lu family. The Purple Mist secret realm is very dangerous, so the family naturally won't let her go. This time, it's Uncle Yuan Shan who's leading the team, along with brother Miaokuan and sister Miofa. Lu Miaoyan spoke up. This wasn't a secret. As a direct descendant of the Lu family, she also knew some things. Lu Changsheng nodded. He knew that Lu Yuanshan was a high-stage expert of the Lu family, with a qi refining 9th-stage cultivation. As for Lu Miaokuan and Lu Miofa, he wasn't too clear about them. But he estimated they had around qi refining 6th or 7th-stage cultivation. I wonder if the Lu family can gain anything in the Purple Mist secret realm. Lu Changsheng thought to himself. He still hoped that the Lu family could gain something in the Purple Mist secret realm. Get a foundation establishment pill. After all, if the Lu family could give birth to a new foundation establishment grandmaster, he wouldn't have to worry about the Lu family's ancestral matters. He was still worried about the old ancestor's situation. Although he had seen the Lu family's old ancestor once before, he felt that the old ancestor didn't seem like someone who was about to die. But during this time, he had also heard some rumors about this. He knew that what Yuningrong said about the Lu family's old ancestor not living past 10 years wasn't just a baseless rumor. Foundation establishment pills. Foundation establishment is also a matter of time for me. Even if I cultivate the 7 stars Great Freedom Sword technique and the 100 treasure refinement body tempering technique, and I have 2 foundation establishment spiritual objects, the probability of foundation establishment is still not high. Foundation establishment pill is basically monopolized by a few major immortal sects and only occasionally flows out. Once it flows out, it's basically contested by other powers, making it difficult for rogue cultivators to obtain foundation establishment pill. Lu Changsheng couldn't help but think about his own future. Although he cultivated the 100 treasure refinement body tempering technique and the 7 stars Great Freedom Sword technique, 2 major genuine level techniques, and relied on the foundation establishment spiritual object, the probability of success was estimated to be around 60 to 70%, or even higher. But in Lu Changsheng's view, this probability was still too low. He must have a foundation establishment pill to be assured. Otherwise, the risk was too great. After all, if the foundation establishment failed, the consequences would be severe. At best, he would be injured and his cultivation would regress. At worst, his meridians would be damaged, rendering him a cripple, or even resulting in his death. In such a situation, without a guarantee of at least 90% success, Lu Changsheng wouldn't dare to take the risk. Places like the Purple Mist secret realm are obviously not accessible to me. I don't know if the system can draw a trashy pill, giving me a foundation establishment pill. If I had a top-grade foundation establishment pill produced by the system, I could then search for a physical foundation establishment spiritual object, and then I'd be close to succeeding. Lu Changsheng thought to himself. He was very much looking forward to the system giving him a foundation establishment pill before he prepared for foundation establishment. That way, he wouldn't have to worry about the foundation establishment.